4. I'm good. Just came back from Atlanta, hung out with some really cool people, and played a lot of Netrunner there. Um, Drinking, delicious champagne. It eases it eases the stress. You get so stressed, you have to drink something, I guess, in the end. No. 4. Now, what about you? How has life been? I'm good. Just came back from Atlanta, hung out with some really cool people, and played a lot of Netrunner there. Um, Drinking, delicious. No, not very large. For me, Atlanta, Georgia is about a 3-hour drive away. But it's for me, it's the closest regional that I have. For those of you that don't know, I live in Huntsville, Alabama. So I live, basically in like, one of the least popular southern states in the United States. And in short, there's a lot of stiff competition in Atlanta. We have our small little meta here, and it was 4 of us that made the trek to Atlanta to play at regionals this year. Yeah, it's all fours. It's all fours. We actually did pretty well. My squad actually came in around right around the middle area of the tournament. And we had like a wide, like varied amount of players. So we got some players that are really into the game, but haven't been playing as long. And so, there's still going to be that skill cap as they get better. We got a couple players who have been playing the game for a while, but they just don't play as often. So, of course, that'll also affect how well you do. I did pretty good. God, I got 7th, which for regionals was the best I had done. I'm usually that guy always on the bubble. I tried, so I promise I tried. Uh, I promise I tried as hard as I could. I tried. There was some very tough competition. Everybody I played, especially like in near the end there were some very skilled players that um, I just I was really impressed by how efficient they were with tracking everything and things like that. It's always nice to see really skilled, crisp players. Um, it almost makes me feel bad because I feel very fiddly when I play. Like I'm not as like organized. These guys are just like snappy and their board state is immaculate. It's almost like they have a ruler and they're measuring out exactly the distance between HQ and R&D. It's impressive. Really? No. Uh-oh. We had to restart it? That's okay. It's okay. We will be back in 4 minutes. So conceited. What is this?
Okay, here we go. We're back. We are back. Starting from the top.
Cool. Totally cool.
All right, guys. So we're back. Sorry about that little drop in session there. Um, so how you doing, man? Start totally fresh here.
No, I'm actually doing really good. I spent a lot of time, practicing for the regionals that I just had in this last weekend. Um, still on the work grind as everybody else is. There's no difference there. Um, I don't know. I'm actually planning to go to another regionals this weekend, and I'll be at the one in Arizona with a lot of the great people with Corp Draw from Corp Draw, and hopefully we'll be able to make the trek to North Carolina also because I have a friend of mine, Francisco, that I travel with often to these games. He has family there, and we also go see them and play. So just really really busy with Netrunner. Trying to.
In North Carolina, do you ever take your shirt off and twist it around your head, spin it like a helicopter?
No, but I'm gonna make a note. Just one sec. Let me just.
Or is that song too old now?
It's, I don't even know if is that. Do people still remember that song? How did you remember that?
Buddy, that's my time, man.
You know,
Petey Pablo, come on.
my God,
North Carolina, raise
don't
up, man.
you don't even live in the States. How do you what? Does not make sense.
Stuff gets to me, man. I'm plugged in.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, hey, Dodge Pong.
Hello, Dodge Pong.
Just jumped in. I was a big fan of what you did with your decks. I checked them out. And I think we will have to talk about them. So I'm glad you came because we will touch on some stuff with Haley.
Cool.
So thanks so much for posting those up on Netrunner DB because I enjoyed them immensely.
I think I remember that. Those actually were good. I remember the Haley one. That was actually pretty freaking cool.
You know what? So it's strange to say. So you did you were down at your regionals and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
It's still fairly new in the regional season, and this is where it gets tricky because you never know what people are going to bring.
Right.
Right? There's a lot of untested stuff out there. So do you want to talk about what you did?
Yeah.
First.
So more or less what I thought was going to be there, or something like that.
Talk about your process there and what you brought. Just
Oh.
from you. Don't talk about what you saw yet. We'll
Yeah.
get into that.
Yeah, no, I brought Replicating Perfection because I actually had played Replicating Perfection for a while. I was playing Replicating Perfection, of course, at Worlds, back in November of last year. It's been a while now, but I mean, because I've played Replicating Perfection since then, it just made sense to go ahead and bring a deck that I was already so familiar and so comfortable with. Replicating Perfection's had a few minor changes. It's probably not fair to say minor, but Replicating Perfection's had some changes, since the release of other cards like Daily Business Show and Cortex Lock and Excalibur and things like that. And so it was just a deck I felt really, really comfortable playing. Secondly, I felt RP could also be popular. So I decided I decided to also play a Stealth Andy deck. Previously, when I had played Stealth Andy decks, I had a pretty good success rate versus RP. I didn't really have 100%. I wasn't 100% sure of what the field was going to be like, but I felt like a Stealth Andy build was going to just be really well suited for Replicating Perfection. I know personally I rarely lose when I play Replicating Perfection, so it felt like I really needed to tech against that particular deck. And that's why I brought my Stealth deck.
Yeah, I felt this. I'm feeling the same right now. I'm feeling that everyone's just trying to figure out how to handle Replicating Perfection.
Yep.
This thing has become a monster, and it's gotten out of control. Like realistically, how many RPs were there?
So what's funny is when we got the stats, RP, I believe, or excuse me, Jinteki, even though we know it was probably all RP mostly, was the third most represented corp.
What?
And exactly, if I'm not mistaken, in Atlanta, the top three were 1, Ambien, 2, I want to say it was HB, and 3 was Jinteki. Now, I think though the margins for that weren't like massively different. Like I don't think it was very much like a 60 of one and then a 10 of one and then 20 of another. It was pretty evenly split. It's something like 31, 29, 28. Like it was pretty close.
Jeff said RP was third most popular.
Yeah.
I guess he was
okay.
there.
Nice. So yeah, Jeff actually was the TO. He was a TO there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
this is perfect then because he's breaking down the numbers exactly.
Heck yes.
Uh,
Props out to Jeff.
Atlantis, they're saying 10 near Earth hubs. There's 9 HB engineering the futures, 6 RPs, 5 blue suns.
Yep, that is correct. That is correct. So NEH was still very very popular there, and in Atlanta for that matter. Um,
So shouts out right there to Jeff Lindsay for running a regionals. Thanks very much for volunteering your time. Thanks very much for joining Bad Publicity and just dropping stats like that when we need it.
yep.
Rained it down on us.
Yeah.
You couldn't have asked for a better time to come into that chat.
Yeah. Right on time. Right on time.
That's why I love doing the show live like this. So that being said, do you think all those people pretty much just put their middle fingers up to Clot and said, forget it?
Um, I don't know. Like, well, that's right, Gabe. I'm so sorry, Jeff. I can't forget about Gabe also. Gabe actually left a Chaos Theory deck there in Atlanta. I would very much appreciate if we could get that mailed back. And thank you to Gabe for actually sending me a message letting me know I forgot it. Thanks, guys. I'll get that address to you soon.
You left your deck there?
I did. I brought a secondary deck that I was testing that I don't want to reveal yet. But I brought a secondary deck that I was testing that was just kind of interesting and different. And during the tournament, I would play side games with it, and I left it on accident. So, but yeah, they actually found it for me. They let me know. Gabe Rosaro and Jeff Lindsay were the TOs, and they were excellent. Also, the store there was very, very nice and accommodating. It was hot. It was hot. I don't know if we could have done anything about that. I think it was just an AC problem. It was very hot in the store. But they were doing their best. I think everybody kind of just suffered together, and that the sharing of the suffering made everything okay. I do think the NEH players, though, I do think the NEH players basically said, I don't care if Clot's in the deck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm confident
like
they teched against it. Yeah, like I'm confident they teched against it. And so what ended up happening is that they probably had something like a Cybernetics virus suite or something, and so they had a means to sort of to trash everything or to trash virus programs, but it just felt like they hedged a bet. They said, you know what? I bet not enough Clot will make it to where it matters, and as a result, that's actually what you saw. Looking at what Jeff Lindsay said.
Yeah, this is some good info that just got dropped in the chat room here.
Yeah.
So let me recap. Dodge Pong drops. He said no one was respecting Clot. I think people saw all the RP at Tulsa and teched against it, but brought corps that assumed runners were teching against Glacier. Jeff countered and said, seems like runner lists were geared towards Glacier and NEH was just too fast.
Yep. Agreed.
So few decks with Clot. Anarch rate versus NEH was in the single digits.
Right. I mean, there wasn't. I mean, in my opinion. So, I think we've talked about this before. But the thing is that if you haven't, if anyone's watching this, if you have not played a Near Earth Hub Fast Advanced deck, to break it down for you a little bit further, the biggest advantage of NEH Near Earth Hub is the fact that they are very quickly able to cycle through the deck and obtain cards that are going to help them towards a fast advanced strategy. And the cards that they install aren't, garbage. They're cards that are either economy or card quality cards. So they have all those things going for them. They sort of can filter through their deck pretty well with cards like Daily Business Show. They have great asset economy with things like Marked Accounts and Pad Campaign, and Shiver from Sand, but that's a separate story. Then you have cards like Sand City Grid, which you really have to focus on and trash. You don't want to leave that active because it'll enhance their fast event strategy. And then to top it all off, the ice that they use actually isn't ice that necessarily is always like a hard ETR. A lot of times the ice that they use are simply cheap and taxing for the cost. Like, Architect will always cost 2 to break. Eli will usually always cost 4, right? They don't really, their strategy is more or less, I can tax you enough so that you just can't quite catch up. And in the meantime, we've all seen Astro script counters combined with, from goodness gracious, Astro script counters combined with, Project Bill, combined with, breaking news. It makes it very, very easy to square out agendas out of hand where, the runner doesn't really have a lot to do except consistently hammer R&D or HQ to pull, to lock NEH out. And I mean, their economy is so efficient, it's really not a big concern. Jeff makes a good point. Shipper from Sansan is a really interesting kind of anti-clot tech, and the reason why is the premise of clot. I'm sorry, I'm ranting now.
No, hit it, man. This is your soapbox. This is what it's for.
The premise of clot is that, right? So they would, or the I guess the initial way you look at it is that they will install the agenda first, and then after they install the agenda, they'll do something like install or res Sansan, install, advance once. And then you, as the runner goes, hey, wait a minute. I have a clone chip. I'm going to clone chip or SMC. I install clot. Continue with your action. Even if you advance it again, even though you have the conditions to advance and score per clot, you can't score this agenda because it was the same turn that you played it. So that's usually the scenario people are using when they look at the way clot works. Well, what's happening instead is NEH players are going, all right, I have an idea. Install this agenda. With, Sansan, of course, is already in server. They're going to install the agenda. I play shipment from Sansan. At this point, it has two counters. And the Corp, because it's their turn, they get to use a paid ability window to res Sansan, and they get priority before the runner can. So as a result, because the agenda already has two advancement counters on it from shipment from Sansan, when they use their paid ability window to res Sansan City Grid, it's too late. You can't clot. And they just score the agenda.
Money all day.
Money all day. So what you have to do, and this is kind of unfortunate for clot players, is you have to be willing to play the clot out the moment they install, or what could be two cards in a single server. And the reason why this is problematic is that especially if the Sansan is face down, it could be anything. They could quite literally be, it's such an easy bluff, in my opinion. Because the Sansan isn't getting rezzed until they know that the shipper from Sansan, worked. So let's say they have a Sansan down, but they just want to be froggy, and they install a pad campaign on that same server. Well, you go grab Clot, and they go, all right, well, that's nice. And then I gain 2 credits, your turn. And then, of course, now Clot's out. They'll just res the pad campaign and then purge virus counters, and you're back to square one. So I do think that, for NEH, now they do have to play around Clot, but the primary issue is that Clot will shut down an NEH player that isn't thinking like that. But I think now NEH players, or in general fast events players, have kind of adapted to the strategy. Clot did weaken the biotic labor form of scoring an agenda, because I don't think you can avoid, without multiple biotic labors, I don't think you can avoid an actual advancement action that allows it to be interrupted via Clot. So the new strategy now just seems to be, try to bluff it out with a Sansan and another card, or if you don't think they're running it, just straight do it and just go for it and see what happens.
Yeah. Obviously, they need the tech on the table, right?
Right.
If there's no way for them to play on the fly, don't worry about it.
Exactly.
But do watch those pop actions, right? Clone ships, SMCs and stuff like that, right? Paying 2 just to pull it back. So it's really strange, that we get off and saying all this stuff here, but the other side of the perspective, it looks like in Milwaukee, Spags took his regionals. He got, he placed there. Or sorry, he did more than place. He took he
won.
He brought it home. He ran.
Yes!
He ran the jewels.
Yes. I couldn't do it, but I would tell him that he would tell you that he's the cream of the crop in his Macho Man voice.
Macho Man voice.
Yeah, cream of the crop.
He was pretty much swearing by Clot. He said it won him. It pretty much got him that final game.
Right.
And even in his deck write-up, I mean, it was one word that just said, Slot the clot,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Slot the clot just appeared in
yeah,
chat. Yeah, hashtag.
yeah. I mean, and he's right. Oh, guys, I don't want to rant,
No,
but
it didn't. You didn't even give us the real talk of the.
so
Is this the hashtag real talk?
uh, not yet.
No.
I'll,
Okay. Okay.
I do have a real talk later. But so I think what makes me sort of sick about all of this is that I understand that, um, number one, I'm all about the slot the clock movement. I think that if you, especially if you're shaper, if you're shaper, throw it in. You need it. You need something to slow down a fast advance tank. Just do it. But I think my primary issue with it is I'm wondering, I'm legitimately wondering if NEH players feel as though a clot, given the scenario I described, where they can try to maybe bluff out something. Did the stream die? They're saying stream dead.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Maybe it's just him.
You might have to hit refresh on it.
Oh, okay. But no, I feel like describing what I just described about how NEH can sort of play around Clot. And there's even other options, right? Like there's CyberDeck's Virus Suite. So if they run R&D while Clot's out, it's like, well, auto purge. I don't even have to do anything. It purges for me.
Right. Right.
I just feel like it's is it enough? Like are we at the like are we at the point where Clot is legitimately enough for fast events tech? Not only that, but for the players that are using Clot, you know, are in the same way how teching against Glacier kind of messes you up versus fast advance, or can mess you up versus fast advance. Are we in that scenario now where the matchup versus RP is so hard, or so difficult that it's better to focus against RP versus NEH? Because what we're seeing is when you don't focus on NEH, it will overrun. When you are not doing any tech at all versus NEH, it will completely overrun just like it has been, just like it was in previous tournaments. I do feel like RP may be a stronger archetype, or I guess Replicating Perfection's Glacier may be a stronger archetype. But there's no denying that an NEH deck, when it works, there's really there's not much you can do about it. Is Clot legitimately enough right now? Is that all it takes? Is that it?
That's some good questions, man, and I don't
Because
understand. I don't understand why that wasn't the real talk of the night, because like I feel like you really were trying to connect there.
Because like look at an amazingly skilled player. In my opinion, probably in my opinion personally, he might be one of the best, if not the best players in Netrunner. I feel like Spags is phenomenal. So my question would be, let's say you have Spags playing his version of an NEH deck, and then a Spags playing his Kate deck. Does Spags actually think, and this is, he can chime in, will Spags be confident that he will more consistently outplay his runner, or will his runner more consistently outplay that corp? Because if the opinion is that the corp in that particular matchup where Claude is there can outplay the runner, I think we need to start asking, is it enough? Like, do we really have all necessary tools to slow down fast advance, in a way that isn't too debilitating, right? Is this the best we've got? I don't know. I mean, I personally think Claude is amazing, because I don't feel like teching in Chicana or the Source or Traffic Jam, which I don't even like Traffic Jam. So I mean, it's I think it's a tough question. I would ask, especially the chat, if anybody's listening and is willing to comment on it. I would actually like to know the thoughts of other players as far as what they think about this. Like, especially if you're an NEH player, do you actually feel like, if you're an NEH player, if you're an NB and Fast Events player, do you feel like Clot versus you is good enough to prevent you from winning as much, more often than not? Is it the tech card that when your opponent plays it, you go, I don't know what I can do? Or is it only a mild annoyance? Is it literally only a scenario where it goes, okay, Clot's there. Well, Well, good thing I installed a pad. Purge. Go ahead. Now I install another card over that pad. Oh, okay. You're installing Cloud again. Mocked accounts. Purge. I mean, like, what do you do there? I mean, at some point, you kind of have to just make a guess, and the corp has to make a guess, right? And I know we're talking theoretical plays here, and some of them may be really, really dumb, but it's a matter of, is it slowing it down enough? Is it actually doing enough? I don't know. I stopped playing NEH a while ago, and since I started playing against NEH, the windows that I see where I could possibly play Clot, they're nice, but I can just see a really great, NEH player playing around it pretty well. And that's my biggest concern. Yeah. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. Overall, I'm satisfied. I don't know. I think Clot's really, really good. I think if you're playing.
So do you think there's more trouble if it's so I think what it's done to the game is it's like there was like Dodge has said in the chat that it makes NEH just think a little bit. I don't think it breaks their game plan, but it makes them think. And there's ways to bluff, that thing. You can, if it's on the table, it's obviously things are going to be played a lot differently. And if it's against Shaper, I feel that it's just a lot more dangerous. I think it's an auto include in a Shaper deck right now, just to be on the safe side, because you have so many ways to pull it out. It's more dangerous trashed than it is if you can't see it, because of the ways that Shaper has to reoccur it with clone chips and SMCs. Sorry, not SMCs. Test runs, and they definitely can pull stuff out of the garbage if they need it. I think that NEH is just going to do its thing, regardless of what the corp does, though. I think it slows them down, but if you're already running 200 miles per hour,
yeah,
in a 50 zone, you don't really, it's Clot's not dropping you enough, right? All you have to do is really get one Astro, and you can sit a little more comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that yeah, I mean, what is this? I think Dodgebong said what I was thinking. It's like NBA Fast Advance is still really, really good. Even with Cloud in play. And I think that, I think my concern is just that it may not be enough. Oh my God! So did you see what Spoonfunk said? He's exactly right though.
Yeah, I was thinking about that coming down, and we can get into that now. But you can see I had this card queued up to talk about, because this card, Blacklist, is the real deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
This thing is frigging phenomenal.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting because I actually initially, and being totally honest here, when I looked at it, I immediately sort of dismissed it. I mean, it was obvious that it was definitely going to be a meta call. It was going to be effective. I won't say necessarily it's absolute meta call card, but it was definitely going to be effective versus like Shaper and Anarchex, especially, right? I did not expect the number of people at tournaments, at regionals, running this card.
So
it was a lot.
Spags has joined, so I don't know how much of that he caught before when you were asking him questions, but
nice.
He might have to.
Spags, all you need to know is I basically called you out as probably being one of the best, if not the best, Netrunner player that I am aware of.
But he took RP too, so I mean that says something about the state of RP right now, because we were talking about
yeah.
So he could have reverse teched or reverse meted that, right? Everyone could have tried in his area, could have been going fast advance, and then if all the runners can beat fast advance, usually a fast advance runner has a hard time against a glacier build.
Yeah.
But this
Like,
blacklist card has been doing work. You see it locking some of these shapers out, and in tough to stop. The cream.
it's just God.
He's gonna be too embarrassed to show up in the chats anymore. Oh, he just said that too. Where is he, Scott? You should jump on. Should jump in this conversation if you're available. We should.
Also, that's Zcav. That's Zach Cavis. Props to shout out to Zach Cavis. He actually won the Atlanta Regionals, undefeated. Did not drop a single game. The only blemish on his game, on his score during the day, was a timed win, which I'm pretty confident he'll agree he probably would have won if he had more time. But I mean, major props going undefeated in a really competitive tournament at like what was in Atlanta. Where you had Ahmed Abessi, Ross, I think it's Friedig, Pacer, Corey Hartman, Zach, all those guys are very, very skilled players, and it was really impressive to go undefeated to that. It's crazy. That's so crazy.
And he's saying it definitely contributed to his wins, man. Blacklist was holding it down. I'm seeing this card, in the dominance that is prepaid Kate, help. Give it that, kick in the nuts.
Yes, I agree. This is, and I think it's also, it's what, if this card had any more influence associated with it, I would probably I would rate it personally really low. The fact that it's one influence is so amazing because it really gives a meta call, choice to every single corp that wants to fight or combat, even if it's just a little bit, an Anarch deck or a Shaper deck. And I would almost argue the meta, the way the card is used, as far as it being I guess how it's limited, but it's super effective for what it does, is similar to Claude, right? Claude is very, very effective. It's even slowing NEH down a little bit, and it's amazing to me that Blacklist also, because they'll probably run and trash this, but unless you protect it significantly, but it's amazing to me that this card can be so effective in just slowing down that runner game when it depends on pulling things out of the heap. So decent. And Spoonfunk says, "Poor Exile. You could not be more right."
Oh,
and poor Max.
Well, I guess Exile needed a nerf.
Oh God.
What's this Blacklist lock, I'm seeing it show up in RP, and Spags, even he I saw it slotted in his. This is something to fear, just getting on the terms of Shaper, because it's so it's such an annoyance, because Shaper is the recursion, right?
It is.
I mean, is it also stopping the max levy?
I don't. No, I think it does. I think it does stop levy, isn't it, guys? I mean, I'm pretty confident about that, but I'm pretty sure it does stop levy. Someone will watch everyone in the chat be like, "Yes, of course, guys, of course." But yeah, I'm pretty sure it stops levy. I mean, you just can't pull anything out. Nothing comes out. I don't. It feels like this card is just annoying enough to where it slows just the development of the board state down for those runners that depend on archives. I mean, obviously, a common thing I see all the time with Shapers is that they'll, one SMC and 2 clone chip come out, and that's basically, that's a rip. When their econ gets going, they're pulling out every single breaker they need as they need it at instant speed. There's no risk of, you hurting them. At that point, you are just rezzing ice so they go grab the breakers. Well, this just changes all of that. Hey, sorry, your board state's slower now. You need to draw cards, or you need to come get this card first. And that's a really good thing. It's not good for Shaper, but it's really interesting to see how it affects their play style, because now you're at a scenario where, for example, you don't have a lady out, right? But Himitsu Bako, Blacklist. Well, I mean, they have to draw up for that lady now. You got to go grab it. And then add to that, add fuel to that fire. Shaper's notorious for only putting one of the actual breakers in their deck because they are very dependent on being able to tutor out the cards they need.
True.
So I mean, when they're not playing multiples of those breakers, and they're depending on SMCs and a combination of SMC and clone chip. When you limit the usefulness of those tutors like that way, you do slow their board development down a little bit, and that could be massive, in a game, especially. As we've seen, as we just talked about, especially in a game where you're playing against an NEH deck where they're going fast and they slow you down. This is dangerous. This is really, really bad for you. It's even great for RP where, normally they take a long time to set up, where their agenda scoring comes maybe near mid in game mostly, right? They can now, slow down the progression of your on the runner side and say, hey, I'm going to score this agenda behind something a little riskier because I know you don't have the ability to go get what you need, or the process to go get it would be too taxing, and you wouldn't be able to get to this agenda because I already tax a click from the central run. I mean, those are all things that I really, really enjoy about this card. And like I said, it's more niche, but it's cool. I think this is a well-made card that is average, and it does work. Especially in the current meta, it does work. Anyone else disagrees? I don't care. I'm kidding. You can talk about it. That's the point, right? I don't know. I like it. I didn't like it initially, and I learned to like it a lot more. I don't think it's necessarily a card you put 2x in, but I don't think a 1x of this hurts at all. I think it's just fine.
I totally agree. Going on that, let's draw back to the fun that our buddy Replicating Perfection is having because of the tools they're getting. Because on one side, NEH can still be popular if the runner does not run that one card, right? That mystical clot, as we've been, talking about there. But on the second side of things, right, how good is some of the tools that Replicating Perfection have had?
They're great. That's how good they are. They're so good. Well, I mean, let's start.
Kind of messing things up here.
Oh, I think the worst card in Replicating Perfection decks, like I think the card that everyone's using that should be removed immediately, is probably Caprice Nisei.
Really?
I lied. I just lied on the stream. I so straight lied on the stream. I mean, Caprice is just so strong.
The video's gonna go wonky for a bit as we make additions here. But so keep going. Talk about Caprice. I have her queued.
Yeah, I do think that Caprice Nisei, of course, is a very strong card, and if given unlimited resources as far as econ goes, if given unlimited econ, or just a sizable econ. Wait a minute. Wait, is that? Hold on. Wait.
Oh no.
Is it the king? Is it the cream?
Ooh yeah. Ooh yeah.
Nice. So nice. So nice. Welcome, sir. We're so happy to have you. You're awesome.
Oh, stop. I don't need this false modesty here, or this false praise.
There we go.
Oh, Bassoon. We'll get to that a little bit later. I'm so sorry. Bassoon asked, do you have any reaction to the news today about MTG Red using his store champ twice? Store champ twice. I'll talk about that later, maybe. But Spags, welcome, Spags.
Hey, what's good, man? What's good, guys?
I think this is the first time you've been able to link in here with Hollis. Last time
Yeah.
it was just you, me, Aaron, and a couple times, and all the time I get messages. It's almost like the pokeroo. He's like, Spags was on BP and I missed him again, you know?
Yeah,
or Snuffleupagus, whatever that was.
I haven't had the pleasure to meet Mr. Hollis in person. Like I said, I think at Worlds I just like gave him like a unintentional shoulder shrug, you know, like a little shoulder bump.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yo, man,
Out of the way, man. Out of the way. Number 1 seed here, man. Step.
Nice.
I was saying it in my head. I didn't say that in real life. I mean, you know,
Nice.
I get beat up. So it's good, guys.
Hey, man, what's going on?
So there was a silent cheer too that went up. It looked like in the chat. So we're just talking, the regionals kicking off here.
Yeah. I'm done. By the way, I've already wrapped up regionals. I'm good now.
So you're not one of those people that win one regionals and then goes to someone else's regionals and wrecks their day, winning again.
Well, I'm gonna do that. I just won't win it. You know, you just stop short. You go 1, 2, and at the 2 count, man, I'll just let the guy up and I'll walk off. And I'm like, I'm good. I had you.
I always think that Seinfeld episode, Stopping Short. You know?
Yeah. Nice.
So you actually switched it up and went RP,
right?
I'm
gonna go to another regional because I got to use my second store championship I got, or just reuse my card. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on the topic for later. Anyhow, go ahead. Yeah, RP.
So do you think it was a better? So at your regionals,
yes,
were more people teched towards a fast advance, or did they not see the glacier coming?
Well, here's the thing. What do you do to tech against RP, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the question. I did see a ton of Kate, and I think Kate is a good matchup, right, in general. So I think people are trying to be ready for RP. I just don't think people know what to do against it. I don't think there is much you can do. I think there was some Vamp. You know, I think Vamp's a good weapon against it, but there wasn't a ton of Criminal. You know, no siphon worries, so...
It's I'm seeing Vamp show up more and more out of faction than I am in the Anarch faction itself.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the card, right? It's 2 influence, so it's easier to splash and siphon. It's only 1 tag, and they usually won't see it coming.
Hollis, go ahead. You had a thought there?
Oh no, I was going to chime in regards to like how do you tech against RP, and I was going to speak on that and say, if we were to like rewind back, you know, like 8 months ago, where you know we had Worlds, you know, the 2 most common and most annoying pieces of ice that you were seeing were like Tsurugi and Komai Inu, because they were not only taxing, but Parasite had sort of like rotated out a bit because of the popularity of NEH. People were more about trying to make sure they could, I guess, benefit from data suckers. There were less Parasite, and it was pretty much only like Kate decks running the 1x of. I think that was pretty common. I think it's always been common with Kate. So when Parasite sort of rotated out for a lot of decks, because for a while even Andy was using Parasite, Komai Inu and Tsurugi got stronger. Where now we're at the scene where, you know, right after Worlds, that's when we got Switchblade and, you know, Stealth Andy and Stealth Kate became more of a realistic deck to make. And so now those taxing sentries became tissue paper. And now the meta's changed for RP, where the same kind of taxing ice that were being used, like Komai Inu and Tsurugi, have now been replaced with like Excalibur and Cortex Lock, which do something similar, but are way cheaper and don't have as many subs. So they can be damaging and you know, if you're using a stealth suite, they don't do as much. The sentry, I guess, aspect of that doesn't really do as much. Which leads me to what I think Spoonfunk and, you know, Planry Escape, has stated. I think personally the worst thing I saw against me playing RP was Parasite Recursion. Anytime someone had Parasite Recursion, I vomited. Because I was just like, well, I mean, so these Cortex Lock became useless. I run a 1x Tsurugi, that's going to die. You know, so much of this ice is going to go away. Ashigaru I love, but I hate when that gets parasited. Suzanu was amazing. And of course, Tobu is always good. But it felt like, you know, the ability to kill my pups, the ability to hurt Crick when it wasn't on, you know, archives, that just sucked. Like, it was so crappy to get my things parasited. I don't know. That was
so obviously you weren't running Blacklist if you're talking about recursion then.
I don't want to talk about it. I was late to that train. I was late.
Yep, a little late to the party, Hollis. And
A little late.
sorry, man, that train left the station, and you should have been on it.
I should have been on it.
No
had-
ticket.
I was like, bro, I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
Let me know.
yeah. Yeah,
So what about
Yeah.
Crick? You guys happy with what Crick brings to RP as well?
no doubt.
I
No
mean,
doubt.
like it just seems like, with Cortex, Crick, Splash in Blacklist, like is RP just getting better?
Well, it can't get much better, but yeah, the Crick was, I mean, a perfect ad. It's great. It's a great Jinteki piece of ice, period. But I mean, it definitely slots perfectly in the RP because you need to put something on archives, right? You got to protect everything, and it's so devastating there. I don't think I had a single person break it when they hit it, right? And
Really? Is that
Why?
because of the suites people are packing these days? It's just too.
It's 6 strength on archives. There's nothing, even a Cyber Cipher. They looked hard at it, and well, one, the Cyber Cipher is not going to target the archives.
No.
And 2, even if it did, or even an Ottman for that, or it's a data sucker, I don't know. It's just like they're like, everyone looked at it and they're just like, let it fire. And it's usually an asset. Sometimes it's a caprice. I did ice though. Don't forget that part. I'm like, oh yeah, I trashed this piece of ice. That's going on top of R&D. Even if I have to pay $3, it's well worth it, for sure.
Yeah.
Won me a game, hands down.
I mean, I think this is solid. I think this is in any Jinteki build now.
Well,
Well, to an extent, obviously, there's going to be builds that don't take advantage of it. But I think for what you get here, the value in faction is just unbelievable. Like A, archive protection. B, you're bringing it up for $1, a credit.
right, that's the key. Anytime you're paying less than the strength amount, like you are here, even if it's 1 for 3, it's awesome, I think. And it benefits not a certain builds like PE, maybe to bring back ice that's been parasited, it's okay, but it's much better in RP or genomics, something where you're going to be protecting archives or trying to, right? And
Yeah. So how many people fell on your Suzanne, and then you had this rezzed and they couldn't do jack squat?
yeah, I threw about 2 or 3 people into that trap, the Susan.
Install a card from archives.
Yep.
So how many cards did you install?
Over the course of the tournament, I mean, probably about 7 or 8 at least, maybe more, because sometimes it was just up and they're just running through it. They're like, well, I got to make a run on a central. That's the easiest one. I don't have the Sundew, have the mental health, with daily biz. We don't care. Boot camp. But the great thing, the Susanna, they have to encounter. So they just see it and they're just like, ugh. I mean, it's insult upon injury. Usually, before I was running that at Gen Con last year with damage, I'd have no ice. So they had to encounter archives, and it's like, eat all the shocks, eat the Shikis. I love Susanoo. I've been running that card since it came out.
So you I guess obviously because you brought home some hardware, but you were happy with the taking RP over an NEH decision that day. Was that a struggle for you?
No,
Did you
not
go
even
back and
close.
forth or
Not
no?
even close. NEH wasn't a choice. I mean, we tested it. I just felt like there's going to be a lot of hate out there, and there was plenty. And I thought like Blacklist and the Virus Suite were a nice ad and helped it. But I just hate a card that like Clot that hurt the deck so much. If I had to take any fast advance, I was going to take HB. Thought it was a little more resilient, can defend itself. So no, RP was the choice. Aaron told me, I'm bringing fun decks, you bring the hard stuff and win it. And so I took the hardest decks I got, and got through it.
So what's the fun decks? What did Aaron take?
He had Chaos Theory. That was kind of
My
big
man,
rig. Yeah.
my man.
Big Rig, Opus, and Rachel Beckman. So, he just loved to so a lot of people, he got it out by 3rd turn, and then next turn it's like gain 10. And just like, they're just like, but he ran in some.
I think I'm going to get him and me big rigging shirts for Worlds next year.
Well, I think he's moved on from that because it was okay. So he ran that, and he ran PE in an environment that PE probably shouldn't run in. So,
Because ever since Worlds, everyone's got one feedback filter now.
well, not only that, I mean, no one's running it. He did run into a feedback filter, and he's just like, who the hell's running that card now? But the key, I mean, I think Order and Chaos really hurt PE, right? I've had worse. Eater, Keyhole. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of answers came out for PE. And Aaron's like, he decided to go the Scorch route, 2 Scorched Earth. And even against Jens, like, Jens beat him in the 5th round with a terrible matchup, the Headlock, Reyna, which, because if PE is poor, they're dead.
Yeah.
And Aaron was still this close. Jens is coming in his hand and, like, missing snares, like 2 snares out of 4 cards. Like, and Aaron's like,
God.
come on, man. But anyhow, yeah, Aaron had fun, so...
So what about let me just run down some other cards here that I thought were interesting to talk about since they've been added. How did these cards play out in your regional experience? So let's say next gold. How did we do here?
I didn't see it.
I did, but I don't think it mattered because I mean I was playing Stealth Sentry Breaker, so it was like, what strength is it? It doesn't matter. Like
Right.
it does nothing. I don't.
And every
Yeah.
shaper had Sharpshooter, even though if you watch on the streams, that's like the first thing they discard because in most matchups it's not a worry. But if they got like the next gold with the Troubleshooter, you need an answer. Or even a Susanna. Well, Susanna's not going to help, but I didn't see it. I faced one Next Design deck. That was the only HB I faced. They didn't have it, so...
No, I didn't expect it to be out there as cool of an addition it is to that next suite. I don't think it's not pulling its weight yet. The next card is a little surprising how much I see it out in most of the decks that are posted for regionals, or saying like, hey, I took this to a regionals, it finished in the top cut at least, is this Symmetrical Visage.
I think it's Visage, but if you want to
Visage.
rhyme it with Massage, because that's what's on your mind, that's cool, man.
Yeah, but
I go for
I'm up
Massage.
here with the Canuck accent.
Oh,
A little close to
You know what?
French Canada.
actually, you're right. That's the French pronunciation.
That's a visage.
Yeah, that's how they pronounce out in the continent. Sure. Visage. Okay.
We're seeing this around now. This is a thing. Did everyone take out their pro cons?
Not the
And-
Europeans.
I
Is that really a thing, or is that just a joke?
Pro cons?
Yeah. Is Europe still running Procon and
Yeah,
and
I
North
saw-
and North America is all about the visage?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in general, what I think is interesting is every time I talk to someone like that is in Europe, their meta is like so absurd. Like right now, isn't there like a really odd like HB mandatory upgrades deck that they say is like sweeping like the
Yes.
country? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, am I missing something? Like, I'm not saying it's bad. First off, if you're listening, I'm not saying your deck is bad. I'm saying I don't understand. Maybe I should play it first before I make like that particular statement. But I'm comparing it to like the decks I see that are doing so well, and I'm going, I don't know how this fits. Like next.
Well, especially in the write-up, right? Like if you read the write-up, they're like, and this person is picking it up out of nowhere and just finishing in the top, 6. And you're like, what?
What's that quote specs from the Meech? You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, the jank that gets one through the Swiss won't cut it in the limbs, right?
Right. I mean, I imagine that if enough people play it and they can pilot it well, it'll do well. I mean, we've seen weird decks that are weird outliers that do phenomenally well. Let's not forget the Silhouette Quest Completed deck.
Yeah.
What? But I don't know. I'm very harsh to decks that are against the grain of the meta that I feel like don't have the same meat. Like, I'm not a genius in this game, but I'm also not garbage. And so when I see these odd decks it's pretty obvious to kind of like you can look at some decks and just kind of go, this isn't bad, but I don't get why this is so good. I don't see quite how this would be better than this other thing that people are already doing. So, like, for example, mandatory upgrades. How are they scoring that? How is it actually getting scored? Is it just an Ash? I mean, are they able to get the available time to do this? To actually legitimately score mandatory upgrades, and no one can do anything about it?
Someone's dripping it out one turn at a time.
Yeah, how are they accomplishing this? If I recall, the deck does not use Biotic Labor, so they can't even do a thing like install advance, next turn Biotic Labor and get it out. Like that's not even happening. They're taking the full 3 turns.
Yep, I think it's going to be they install it whether with the Ash or not and leave it, and maybe even leave it another turn. Just pretend it's an asset. I've done it, this past weekend with Future Perfects or whatever. Put in the server, just leave it for a turn or two, and then you have that triple advance turn. And now, can you get in or not? And if you can't get in, it's going to be scored. And if you can, I think they're hoping to break you down and create another window. I guess they're saying the benefit of mandatory upgrades over a 5/3 is that if it does get stolen, it's just a 2-pointer, right? Whereas that 5/3 when that gets hit, that hurts a lot. So I think it's almost like a trap to them. Maybe it's like a honeypot that they're trying to lure them in, have them break themselves on the server, and you got 2 points, congrats. Now I'm going to push the 3/2s out. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what about this this big baby here, this baby Huey?
It's good.
The Visage.
Yeah.
Yeah, solid. I ran one.
And did you because you were a Proco user before, right?
Yep, way back in 2013, Worlds 2013. But that was.
But are you missing it though? Like, do you feel like you have to, like, you're missing that after the first draw?
No.
Temple Loss sucks.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It just sucks too much. It's good, and every time I've played with Proco, and I get it in my opening hand, it is always good, and I'm never really mad about it. But it is the times when it's not in my opening hand, and I have to every single turn question if it's worth putting in play right now versus using a quality time or versus just straight drawing. And symmetrical visage, damn it.
You're from the South. You're excused.
Symmetrical Visage basically sort of fixed that because I was like, well, I usually end up just at least taking one click to draw every turn. Like, it's pretty common. I might as well get a buck. Let's just go ahead and use it.
Yeah, this to me was a much improved Professional Contacts. I couldn't wrap my head around spending the 5 at the start on Professional Contacts, especially when you see it's lost people games before. Drop 5 right off the top, and you can never get that back. That's not dropping 5 for an Opus where you're printing money. That's like turn.
Could you imagine? Oh no, go ahead. You're good.
No, go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say, could you imagine if Andrew Veen at Worlds 2014? Could you imagine if his first turn was Katie Symmetrical Visage as opposed to Katie Proco? Like, it would have changed his development because instead of going, and spending the whole turn going Proco, Katie or whatever the actual actions were, he would have actually made a run on turn 1 when Jins had the 3 agendas in his hand, which I'm pretty sure was the case if I recall. Like, if anything, that game for me was a testament of, how you need to run, how aggressive you kind of need to consider the game, and Visage being so cheap, especially if you see it early, kind of lets you do that. I would play it in Kate decks. I would play it in Andy decks. I don't think Shaper will dislike Anarch dislikes the card either. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Spags, you weren't on for it, but is there anything you want to add to Blacklist? I don't know if you caught our little talk about it since you ran it.
Yep. Yeah, that was just a real quick on that. That was kind of a last minute ad. It was just rolling with a standard kind of RP build, and then on StimHack there was a kind of last minute talk of like, oh, you could do this 8 agenda build, and we're doing these like Blacklist boot camp thing, and I'm like, well, I have this Ichi one I was going to run, and I dropped it for the boot camp. and the blacklist, and I already had one daily business show, and to make the space, cut down to 8 agendas. I think it worked well. The executive boot camp is just super versatile. I was rezzing ice, not often, but I'd rezo Himitsu Baku, bounce it back to my hand, when they were coming in on or just reinstall it, or the boot camp can get you your Sundew early. I used it for that. You can get the blacklist when you're ready for the lockout. The blacklist was an MVP. I expected a Kate heavy field, and it hands down beat, I'd say, at least 2 people by itself, that card.
Wow.
Because once you let them set up, a number of shapers, they hit the Cortex lock early. They're like, oh, I'll dump it in the bin. I'm shaper. I have recursion. I have clone chips. I have scavenge. I have Larla. And I just look at it. Okay, there's the Levy and the Ottman. All right, I'm set. Slowly set up. So if I can give a little anecdote, first round of Elims, playing a shaper guy, same thing. He face plants the Cortex lock. He's coming in hard. He gets Cyber Cipher on HQ. I'm like, okay, I got the toll booth there, but that's fine. I put a Caprice behind it. I was defending myself. I set up the blacklist behind the second toll booth. He Cyber Ciphers it. He doesn't know it's a toll booth, though. He just luckily guessed. He didn't come in right away. I immediately overwrite it with the Susuano. Those are his 2 Cyber Ciphers, res, and the blacklist is res. He is locked now because there's the Ottman's in the bin. He has no way to break the Susuano. I'm guessing he doesn't have a fem. The Cyber Ciphers are locked in. He has a lady with 1 counter. Luckily, he had a second one in his hand, but that was it. So get this. He comes in. He tries to run it. Hits the Susuano. Bounces him to the crick, which I reinstall the toll booth that I just overwrote on R&D, so he can no longer get an R&D the rest of the game.
Oh my god.
He proceeded to pound his way through a toll booth with a Cyber Cipher on HQ, only to run into Caprice like 4 times in a row. It was painful, very painful. So that's the power of blacklist. The guy, he was literally locked out of the game. There was no way he could win after a certain point.
That's incredible setup, man.
Yeah, so that was against shapers and like Max. You just let them get to the point where they can't break the Susuano or whatever, a Lotus Field. Lotus Field is devastating on it too, right?
Yeah.
Because if they're using Cyber Ciphers or a Yogg, they're going to be done. So real quick, I don't know. It's a 1 influence card that's really powerful, and
especially against one whole faction that is popular.
Well, it's really popular. Whatever's dominating the meta, I think, right now, right?
Yep.
Max decks, shaper decks.
Yeah, so. It's worth a look if you're not looking.
Yeah, I know it's tough to slot in an asset, but for 1 influence, especially if you can search for it, right, with business boot camp.
Haley.
What
did you guys experience a lot of Haley in your regionals? Like usually everybody wants to come out with that new hotness when it's there and be that first one, catch people off guard, right? So was she representing?
What in Atlanta? What'd you see, Alice? Nothing?
No.
I mean, okay, so I did see Haley, but I don't know I wish I could recall the highest seed of anyone playing Haley. I know that usually when people are playing Haley, what we see often is Haley and Comet in tandem, but I ended up seeing a Kate Comet deck, but not a Haley Comet deck that did really well.
I know Dodge is in chat, and he did very well with one in Tulsa.
Tulsa, yep.
Nice.
He took second seed there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think he was just using Haley, and that was not partnered with Comet, which is I think the smart choice. I think Haley plus Comet, you're asking for a lot of draw and a lot of setup. You might not be able to handle that hand size wise, but
I think that's too many moving parts for one deck, right? Even though there's, that's her console. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, I think she had a surprise factor there, and she maybe still does for a while. She was the guy who took the #1 overall Swiss seed in Wausau, where I was at. I was second. He was running Haley Stealth. I think that's a legit build because it's mainly hard. He ran like kind of the build I initially built, equal parts hardware, programs, and resources, right? So you kind of always are going to be able to combo her ability with just a handful of events. And it's solid. He just, in the Elims, he ran into some rough matchups. I think Jen's beat him with Near Earth. So
yeah, I think she can get outpaced.
yes.
And that's the problem. It's a slight little niche in Haley's ability, but the work that her ability does and the cards that are there, if you go back enough with the stealth setup, with replicator, man, oh man, is she getting set up. And you know, if you can really have an opening hand with her that is, you know, Opus and you know, some kind of search card to get you, you know, either that, you know, that first program or that first you know, piece of hardware to put down and replicator, you are setting up like this, but you're still waiting for pieces to take use of her ability. And I've played her a couple times, and I find that sometimes when you're looking at a hand with one program in it, you're like, let me just draw to get that other program so I can use her ability, and you know, let me just hold on to this so I can double up. And you start second guessing your speed of just playing, and I got to make a run. I got to make a run. I got to make a run. So she's someone that could definitely get caught up in the setup mentality. But I do really like her as a play style. I was honestly surprised, Spags, that I didn't see something from Haley out of you. You know, I know you still got your Kate, your Mac, and you'll always be, you know, loyal to Mac. But you know, as a Shaper player and something, I really thought that this was going to be something that you were going to play. I remember when she was released, you know, you were excited for her to come out, and we talked a bit about having one of the first usable Shaper cards identities in a long time, right? Because Nasir was hard for people to play as a Shaper. You know, you pick him up, that's a whole different play style that you're bringing to a game that's got to be quick, and he just kind of, a lot of Shaper players couldn't grasp around, and he really didn't make a splash anywhere, you know? So it's been a while since we've had a new identity, and I thought we would have seen some tricks up your sleeves revealed.
Well, you know, regional season is young. And I've got the weight off the shoulders. You know, I've got the card, you know, which, by the way, you know, they give you the card just like when you win a store champ, right? There's when you win a regional. Yeah. It's the national buy. There's a misprint on it. I don't know if you saw that. Androil Netrunner. I'm like, oh my God, Androil? Like, no one.
Do you know what was really funny? Because I saw you posted your deck list, and you said that. You're like, I forget what the context of it was. No, it was on your Facebook.
Androil.
I think it was your Facebook, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was like, the first thing I do is look down at the keys. I'm like, did he mistype it? No, the D's over here, the L's over here. It's not a. It's not
you
a
had to
slip
zoom
of,
in to get that Easter egg on the card. Androil.
It's not a slip of the finger.
No, but, that was on purpose, because that was the first thing I saw, Androil, and I'm like, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to go to use it, and they're like, sir, this is Android Netrunner, not. The best part was on that Facebook. I put it on Facebook, and to see Lucas Litzinger like the picture, and I'm like, I wonder if he caught the misprint. But so Haley, I got a few more regionals left, at least 2 more, and we got some Great Lakes Circuits tournaments. I'll rep her. I'm going to rep her in a tournament. Because I love the click compression, especially out of turn, like Kate. The ability you can use out of turn. So on the Corp turn, I can clone chip or SMC or Personal Workshop and get that ability again, right? I'm gaining clicks on their turn as well, as long as you can keep that hand refreshed. And yeah, she's really intriguing. I think you have to be a smart player. You got to be thinking ahead. You got to be planning ahead. What are my clicks going to be for the next turn or the Corp's turn, right? And so you need a really good draw engine, I think.
Yeah, you know what was interesting when I looked at this card, and it goes along some of the lines that you said. As much as we've seen, you know, Reina Roja in the past and the chess stuff, this is the first card in the game where I feel like it's very much a chess mentality, because like you just said, you have to think this turn 3 turns ahead. What am I going to do? How am I going to combo this in? What's going on? This card is so much taking advantage of what shapers do. It's ridiculous. And it's not on what you do on your turn. It's what you do on the corporation's turn that is going to make this card so powerful. Like, you are playing 100% of the time now with Haley. There's no, like, you know, there's no finish your turn, put your cards down, and watch what the other guy does. This is, oh, hold on a second. I've got to make a couple moves here. Got to do this, got to do this. Boom, 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 boom. Jump back to my turn. I'm going, I'm running. I've got my rig set up now. This is going to be unbelievable once she starts clicking. And there's just so many shaper paid abilities that play with this that just make her phenomenal. I can't wait to see what people come up with.
And just kind of a good way you can throw the corp off their turn, right? Maybe you just want to, if you want to get into like the mind games here, like they take their first click. Hold on a second. I'm going to SMC. Hold on. Now I'm going to search my deck. Okay. It's kind of like in the NBA right now, they're doing the fouling, you know, the super fouling, the hack-a-shack type thing. It really like disrupts the flow of the game, the same thing. So then once you do that, okay, shuffle the deck, you put it out there. Okay, you can cut it. Okay, thanks. Hold on a second. Wait, now Haley's going to go. Wait, I got to look at my hand. Okay, I'm going to install this now. Okay, okay, now you can take your second click. Right.
Do you think that's going to play a problem with timed games? Like once the judge yells, you know, oh, there's 5 minutes to go.
No, people complain, but no.
Hollis, what do you got with this this lady?
I mean, in general, I do think she's good. I just, God, the thing is that, you know, I only have so many hours of the day to play. I play so many existing decks already. And I mean, back and forth between things I enjoy having fun with from like, you know, my local group, and versus the things that I really want to try to play competitively for the most part when I go to Sir Champ. And sometimes those things like meet and intersect, but most of the time, like, they're vastly different. Like they're so far off and so experimental that I don't even really look at them competitively. Haley, I have not really had time to touch. Like I think I literally just got to the point where I felt I was awesome with Leela maybe like 2 months ago. And then of course by then the meta changed so much, you know, in favor of like RP being favored. I was like, okay, I got to do something else. I got to try something else. I don't want to do this anymore. So maybe this is it though. Maybe Haley is the beacon. Like she's the shining light that will change my life forever, and I'll never go back to Kate ever again. I lied, but I mean, she is good though. She's good, and I don't know. I want to see. I think Dodgebong had an excellent deck. If I recall, he was the one. Dodgebong, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the deck with Armitage, Code Busting, and Astrolabe as well. You did not use Comet. And I think I remember seeing this and commenting on it and said, yeah, this is probably what a Haley deck should look like, taking advantage of those cheap free resource installs to generate econ. Because Armitage only gets fucking better. Ooh, excuse me. Armitage only gets better when you're installing two for one, like two, paying two, and then, you know, one action. That's way better. Way better.
Yeah, there's got to be there's a fine balance, I find, with playing Haley. Because you have to keep your draw up, and you have to keep your credits up too, and you got to try and find ways to kind of cheat things in. You know, maybe you mod the first thing, pay the second thing, but you know, I haven't found the econ balance yet that I'm comfortable with. Too much burst, and you just kind of use it up trying to install things. Too much drip economy, and you know, you're kind of waiting for it to come in, and I don't know, because she wants to do everything so fast, and you still want enough money at the end of your turn to be able to do things on the other guy's turn. This is, I'm telling you, this is a mind chess game and a half to play.
Yeah.
To play Haley in a good way, not in the seer way. This is a good this is a good way.
Man.
She's shaper cranked to 11. I kid you not.
About that Nasir game though.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add to shaper that you just thought of or
They're just in a
Haley?
good spot in general. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. I mean, I like a lot of shapers. I still like Exile. I mean, everyone looks at me weird. I still like it. I still think it's fun. Just don't play Spags and Y has Blacklist, and you'll be fine.
Well, you better have an answer. And
Yeah.
you know,
Hollis, you were talking about traffic accident this afternoon. You said this played a part.
I don't want to talk about it, bro. It made me so mad. You ever like? I just.
You didn't
This is
get.
on-
Did you
This
get
is
hit a
officially
lot?
on the internet.
is it
No.
giving you a nosebleed? Are you
God.
hemorrhaging?
There was one particular game I recall where I was behind I was playing an NEH I guess Butcher Shop deck, and I was behind I think only by 3 credits, and I had everything going for me. My hand size was like at 5, and I did not have flash creep, but my hand size was at 5, and I had Katie with 6 credits. And I don't know what I was thinking. I had not seen any influence of their deck. I saw none of it. So I had no idea what the heck they were running until it was too late. So I basically go, like I make a run, do my security testing. That got me to like 13. I think they were on 16. And at that point, I'm like, well, I don't know what else to do here. I'll load Katie. Go ahead. And then he was like, all right, so how many credits do you have? And then I went, well, F. Because I know what's coming. If I had just popped Katie, this would not be happening, because then I would have the 6, and next turn I would just ramp up +3 from security testing, and then what you're about to do would never happen. A clear misplay by me, complete misread, because I had not seen influence. And his method of killing me was, mid-season, and then it was a Scourge into a traffic jam. And what are you going to do? Like, I knew I was going to take 13 tags, or 3 tags, sorry. So it didn't matter whether I took 13 or 3, because I knew a traffic jam or another Scorch was going to do it. So
Traffic accident.
that's what it is. Traffic accident. Sorry, traffic accident. Have I been discussing the wrong card the whole time? Oh,
No,
God.
you're good. You're good.
Okay, but no, yeah. I mean, it's just annoying. I usually will never. I usually don't even take those decks seriously. Because I always out econ them, because I kind of expect them. Going into a game where you don't know what your opponent's running, because they're playing in a way that's similar to like a fast robotics. I thought I read it correctly, and I didn't, because I saw some influence used that usually lends itself to playing a faster deck, and I was just wrong. Hi, Mrs. Jameson. Is that her? Is that Mrs. Jameson? It's Mrs. Jameson. Hi, Mrs. Jameson.
She says hello.
Yeah.
Wisely staying off camera. So you're saying you hate traffic accident, or you're just bad against it? What's
bad.
What's the rant here? What's the?
I'm
You're
actually
just
gonna
bad.
say-
Is that what you're saying? Is that
Yeah.
the moral
Can we
of the
get
story?
that? I'll write that down. I'm just bad. No.
He got hosed by it, so.
Yeah.
you-
I mean, I think I'm just salty, bro. I'm just salty. I'm just salty as hell.
That's all right. It's allowed. I actually think I'm going to bring that deck to my next regional.
Oh,
Butcher shop. Well, the Gutenberg. The Gutenberg is so good in there, isn't it?
It's great.
Is Data Raven's like an end the run? Oh, okay, go home. The Gutenberg's like, no, stay a while.
So good.
Another card that I'd like to see you guys' opinion on, if you saw it, was Touring.
Oh yes.
I would love to call it Turning. Every time I see it, I keep thinking they missed the end, but
No, man, this is the Benedict Cumberbatch. This is the grandfather of computers here.
That reference, though.
did this make an appearance?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Was
saw
it
it.
was it just to bring AI hate?
No, I saw one guy put it in RP, and I did test it in RP, but I found that 3 influences, that's a lot.
It's hard to swallow.
Yeah, 2 influence, I could see it, but in HB, no, for sure. I saw Next Design running it too. It's got a lot of benefits. The AI thing is just kind of some icing on the cake, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's legit. I think it's a cool card. But yeah, the influence, you're not going to see it a ton, right?
No.
Did you see it, Hollis?
The HB decks that I did encounter during that day definitely had them in there. And, I mean, it's obviously taxing. I think my biggest issue, though, is I think people were forgetting that, there's still a stipulation there that allows me to just ignore it entirely.
Yes.
So you have to remember that if you're playing touring, obviously it lends itself really well to existing HP Ice and combo. The worst thing I encountered was someone did stack them, and I was like, oh my god.
Yes.
I was like, bro, like the cheapest server. It's like literally the cheapest Glacier server, like the cheapest remote I've ever seen in my life that was so taxing. It was crazy.
Right. That does have one problem, though. I mean, once it hits that remote, David's not an AI, so David's still just boop, boop, but otherwise you're right. For its costs, it's taxing as heck, code gate, right? And that's kind of the theme now, like when you're talking about RP, it's kind of changed. I think just in the environment, don't you think? Just there are code gates everywhere because there just isn't a great way to take care of them, right? No one's running Torch. You got the Cyber Ciphers, Yogg, but Yogg can still be shut out.
And nobody's running encrypted protocols.
Portals, encrypted portals.
Encrypted portals.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Come on. Now's the time. Code gates rejoice.
I entertain that. Go ahead. No, please. I want to hear this one.
Round 1 of Worlds, first game of Worlds this past year, by the way, I almost lost to an encrypted portal stack. I'm like, I had to steel myself. Like, you can't start Worlds by losing to this stack, man. And I just sat next to the guy at the Wausau Regional, so he must be some localish guy. But I was like, oh man, that was brutal because he scored one. I'm like, the whole deck was code gates.
Oh my god.
I was like, no, not this.
Brutal.
Yeah, I think this touring ice. If HB hits the table, I'm pretty much, thinking 90% chance that this ice is going to be built into it now. I really like these ice that give the bonus for the server they're protecting. Mm-hmm. I think if everybody is putting that particular ice into their deck, like Wayland will run the Wayland one, MBN, Jinteki will have the Jinteki one. I just think they're too good for the bonus you get from them to not include. And if you don't, obviously when we say things like that, there's always going to be caveats. Sure, there's going to be a time when you can't run this, but right now, on your initial run through of your deck build, you're pulling it out of your binder, you're putting it in, you're testing, or this could be probably the last card cut to fit in some econ or something. I don't know what, but this is just a really good card, and I think you will see it. These code gates are, like you said, man, getting more annoying. That's pretty much the rundown of cards that I think we should keep an eye out for from the new batches and things like that. Before we get into some stuff from Spags, anything you guys want to talk about regionals in summary, tips for people, or something crazy that you saw, something you do differently?
Give them your tagline, Spags. Go ahead.
Which one? The jank that gets one through the Swiss? Is that what you want?
That's one, and then the name of your deck, your actual deck.
Slot the Clot?
Bam.
Hashtag Slot the Clot.
Yeah.
It's trending now.
It's all about the hashtags with you young kids nowadays, right?
I'm glad you say that plurally, like I'm included in that with him.
Yeah, well, you're younger than me. Anyone younger than me is a kid, right? I think you're younger than me. Anyhow, whatever.
I don't think so. I think maybe just today because I've trimmed down a bit and I wear these these kiddie ball caps, but
Is that it? Okay,
yeah,
well, fair enough, man.
you just wear a little more of a baggier shirt, and
So slot the clod, huh?
people don't understand that you're a child of the '80s if you do this.
80s.
Yeah,
not
didn't you grow up in the '80s?
Yeah, part of it. Yeah, right. I grew through the 80s. That's correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
How old do you think I am? How old do you think I am?
35,
30.
36.
I turned 40 this year.
There you go.
Yes. And we just lost half our viewers. Interesting. I don't know how.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm only 5 behind you.
There you go. So, go ahead, Hal. Slot the clod, man. Lay it down. Lay it down.
All right. So, as we've already talked about, guys, even if NEH is still good, even with Claude in the meta, like even if they can still play around it, you can't do nothing. You cannot afford to do nothing. If you do nothing, they will just continue to dominate. And I mean, basically, we all know it can lead to those landslide victories. So you need to follow the advice of Sir Spags. Sir Spags a lot, and bite the bullet. Especially if you're Shaper, bite the bullet. Take out. I don't know. Like if you're still running Corroder, you don't need that to take that crap out to get rid of
Second leg work.
Yeah, like take out the second leg work and put in the clot. I mean, and throw in if you need it, throw in another SOT. I don't care what you do, but put the clot in there.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I think because otherwise it becomes a ghost in the machine, right? If no one runs it, no one's going to be scared of it. And I was this close to not running it. I really was. I was like, you know what? No one's crazy enough to run near Earth. I'm like, I'll run the second legwork and just roll through people. And at the last minute, I put in. And granted, I didn't face it, but there was a ton of near Earth. Like I said, it was second most represented NBN in general. There was the World Is Yours fast advance. It was crazy, and I'm like, well, thank God I put it in.
Yeah, that's what the guys were saying down at Atlanta too. Is that NBN is not scared right now?
Well, at least in America. Overseas, I think they are. Right? They've gone. It looks like they're going more to kill decks or mandatory upgrades.
They're all running 3 copies of slot out.
But here, you're right. In the U.S., they're not scared. They're like, I'll gamble or I'll fight through it. And like people in Boston are like, oh, I know how to play around it. I'm like, well, good luck then.
Yeah.
Good day, sir.
Right. But yeah, like you saw the description of the deck. I only put decks up like I do well with on Netrunner DB. I'm not going to be like, here's version 5, and 2 hours later, here's version 6 of this deck. That annoys the hell out of me. Sorry. But did you see description of my deck I put up? 2 sentences, I think. If you do not run Clot, you're a coward.
And if you run 45 cards, if you
run over 45 cards, you are lazy.
Yeah.
I love the way that it pretty much is just an insult to anyone playing Valencia Estevez.
Well, they can't help themselves. I'm saying these guys run the 46 card gate. I'm like, that's just kind of a joke. Like,
yeah.
There's a running battle on that.
I knew exactly what you meant.
Yeah.
But I feel it's so true too, man. So many times around here, I remember building decks with Caleb Corpsemorn, and he's like, just go to 46. Just go to 47. You've got Diesel in there. It's pretty much like you're running
quality time.
Yeah, you just draw it up, and I'm like, dude, I'm like 45. That's what I do.
Well, that's the slippery slope. Where do you stop? Yeah, what's 47? Just like 48. It's just like that's the gateway drug. 46 cards. Just like
the gateway drug. I like it.
Because next thing you know, you're doing mollies, then you're doing heroin, then you're doing coke, and then it's just where do you stop? You're just. You got the funnel and the anus. You're pouring alcohol right in. Hollis knows about that, right?
No, bro, no. I'm not that young to know about that. Holy crap! I know about it. Oh my god. God, it's like
this is a public service announcement for you.
It is.
I'm out. Listen, that is a rip, and we are no.
And that doesn't even describe half this. He just came back from Vegas. This is,
Oh,
you know,
man.
you're just describing
whoa.
his
Yo.
time down there.
Listen,
I'm
this isn't
surprised he's
even.
upright.
Like, I hope no one's watching. No. God, I don't know, guys. I feel like oddly enough, I feel like the meta is really healthy because you got NEH. I can't stop saying NEH. NBN is in a really good spot. Jinteki's in a decent spot. HB has some unique options that lend itself well to also kind of being a wild card because they can go a lot of places, and I think they have more support than people give them credit for. I still think Corporate Troubleshooter is being incredibly underused. And then we go to Wayland, and well, all right.
Okay, so here's this. Okay, so let's end with this. All right.
Can't be perfect.
Yeah.
I think everyone has their, you know, some good takeaways from the regional conversation. What do you guys think are the top 3 runner IDs right now? Hollis, hit yours. It's easier if you just let it flow.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Kate, Andy, and then I'm actually gonna say Max.
Oh, no. Still think she's there, huh?
And you're probably one of those 47 card maxers, or yeah.
I want to give a wild card. I'm actually instead I want to say Andy. I'm gonna go Kate, Andy, and I want to say Wizard. I want Wizard.
Oh, no.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Wizard.
Quest completed.
Yes. No, I'm gonna go Wizard.
Spags?
Well, you know, the Kate and the Andy, that's a given. I want to lean, if you're going to go wild card, I would go the Headlock Reina deck. I think that's going to catch a lot of people off guard, but I still like Leela Patel. Even in this environment, I think she can still do well, especially if Near Earth thinks that they're cool. Leela is going to smash them in the face.
See, I was thinking that over Andy. Right? I'm thinking, to me, I think a lock is Kate on top, and I'm giving Leela a good second, like not even by like a slim margin. I think she bumps Andy down, and my third is a little rocky. I don't have a solid third. I want to say that Haley could probably take that spot with a little spit and polish on some of these decks we're seeing, but I mean right now is probably Andromeda.
She's always going to be good, right? The consistency, you know, just because she kind of, quote, fell out of favor, that was just people trying other things or just, you know, following the bandwagon mentality, right? But she's always good.
I agree, but I still, I think Leela does more work than what she does, and that's why I would put her at a solid 2.
She's more fun.
Yeah. What about corporations, the other side? Obviously, everyone's going to just go RP on top, so the real question is, you know, is where does the second 2 is? Are we just going to say NEH? We all agree is the second, but I mean, what's the third?
Is NEH? I don't know if it is. I guess it's just still so good because it can do 2 different things, right? It's still so versatile, and even out of the fast advance, you see what won this past weekend. You had Zach's deck, your more traditional build. You got the Grails, which Jens was repping up the second place. You got the Space Ice winning over in England. I mean, it can do all those, and that's even without going to the kill side of things. That's why, yeah, I guess Near Earth has got to be considered up there. That's 17 influence, right?
Yeah. I don't think you would really have to have a team of O.J. Simpson lawyers to convince me that NEH is still not up there. Yeah. I don't think there's a straight argument that you can make against that deck right now, even with Claude.
I feel like whether or not it's in the top 3 is so dependent on like, for example, RP is up there because there's not a lot of things you can do to hate against it. But with NEH, it's basically if Kate is the dominant runner archetype, or if in general, if anybody that can recur at instant speed, Clot, is the dominant archetype, then eventually you just have to hammer NEH into, or an NBN deck. I mean, who are we kidding? It's NEH. You basically have to just hammer an NEH deck into submission that's doing fast advance. I mean, that's what's going to happen. And enough of that happens, it keeps getting pushed out, and further out. So I don't know.
So what's the next one? What are you wrestling with?
Well, you're seeing in the chat some engineering the future, and that's always, and the fun is always going to be good. Just they're kind of like the Andy of Corpse, right? It's just such a solid ability that I don't know, and there's a lot you can do with them. You can run mandatory upgrades, and apparently win in Germany. I like that. That's like the new David Hasselhoff in Germany, right? A mandatory upgrade.
Yeah, like I don't want to start that rant again. I just don't understand. I don't get it. I mean, maybe I'm just wrong. I could just be totally wrong. I'm wrong a lot. Who knows?
But, I think Aaron Andrews, he has on to something, though. Sometimes you have to come out of left field and play against the meta. Don't you think, like, maybe if less people are playing Max and are playing Keyhole, maybe PE is a nice wild card right now. Might catch some fools off guard. People have let their guard down. Feedback filters have come out. You have I've had worse. I don't care. Draw through your deck faster. I'm going to just kill it. And you know what? One of Aaron's other pieces of tech against all this recursion? 3 Chronos Protocol. 3. Oh, you stole 1? You stole 2? You think you're good? Right in the face.
Yeah.
It's still my favorite agenda. I love that card.
Fantastic.
I really try my hardest to fit that into most decks.
So
what about you? What about you, Jameson? What are you thinking, corp-wise?
Corp-wise, I'm RP, NEH. I really played with IG for a long time. I know it's not there, but I wish it was. That was my my pet project for a long time. I thought it was a really interesting mechanic with the cards in your archives there and what you could do. But like I know it's not there. I think it's going to have to be like an HB, whether it be engineering the future or I don't want to say Foundry, but yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of next design. I think people are trying rush, because they're like, you're going to clot. Well, I'm just going to push, and you're not going to be fast enough.
Yeah, so. Geez, love next design myself. Like I would love to be able to run an amazing next design build, and even a great HB that's not engineering the future.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm just
stronger together.
I'm just kind of bored with that ability. I want to play a game that's, I'm gonna get something fun out of it, and it's gonna make me work a little bit. Engineering the future is kind of like an install, gain my dollar, do this, gain my dollar. I really feel there's only one format engineering the future can really go. But that being said, that could be the third slot there. It's either PE or it's engineering the future. Depends on that's going to be the meta breaker call right there, right? Like, but it's definitely. I don't think Wayland has still climbed into the top 3 yet.
They need some help. If Jesse Marshall was here, he would rip everybody, a new one. But also props to Jesse. He's a very skilled player also. And he's, of course, on the winning agenda. And a friend. And, he addressed a lot of issues in an article that he wrote. And he's not wrong. I mean, Wayland has advantages. But, I mean, they also need a lot of work. There's just, I feel like a few great things to add to their repertoire would really just improve their game quite a bit. I hope. I hope.
So, Spags, you want to take some time?
For what?
Did you want to talk about your pro circus?
Circus?
Circuits.
Circus de Soleil. Yeah, the pro circuit, man. A&R pro circuit. I heard Mr. Hollis here. You've already participated, huh? And by participated, I mean dominated it? Is that what you're...
I wouldn't say dominated. My opponent was Michael Norman, who was the second place at the Atlanta Regional I just came from. and in the finals. I did okay. I basically played the decks I played at this regional. I played Andy RP because I'm just like so original. But yeah, it was awesome. I love by the way that everyone in all regions is doing this. This is so awesome. It's exactly what I wanted. So, but please
sure.
continue.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm glad to see that it's moved so quickly. I mean, it started with that Southern Megacity circuit, and my thought was like, I want to do something else, fan run for the game, and I was going to run a big tournament at Worlds or something like that. And then when I saw that, I'm like, no, we can do something bigger, something more,
Yeah.
right? And that's at the pro circuit. I'm like, well, I'm going to do a Great Lakes. I know enough people. I've played for a couple of years, so I'm like, I just started contacting people in cities, around the Midwest, and be like, hey, do you want to run some tournaments? And it took off, and then you got Jesse and Dan out in the Mid Atlantic, and that's the thing. I mean, you have it helps. I think you have higher end players who are just passionate about the game, that just want to take it that next step. And I've
Yeah.
seen it in other games. I've seen it in Hero Clicks. I've seen it in War Machine and Hordes and miniatures games where the company's not supporting the scene enough, the competitive scene, and the fans took over. And maybe the company catches up and they support it, or maybe they're just like, well, we're just not even going to care. And I think with Fantasy Flight, they're a board game company. They like the casual aspect. So I felt like we had to do it ourselves. So it's just really positive. There's been a lot of positive buzz, a little negative, which is fine. That's expected. But up at the regional here, ran a number of people, and I asked, "Are you going to come out?" And they're like, "We're going to hit as many as we can because we want to see this thing get bigger." And attendance and support will do that. So, yeah, it's gone well. We're up to 5 circuits here in North America, and it's doing well.
So what happens when you have a winner of every circuit? What's the like? Do you want
They
to
go to
explain?
Worlds.
Do you want to explain the format then, or?
The format, it's just kind of like it's a pyramid scheme essentially, right? for me to make a ton of money. No, the pyramid is, though, we're trying to basically, each of these regions is trying to send a champion to Worlds. It's kind of Hunger Games here, right? So because in North America, Fantasy Flight's not sending anyone to Worlds. Even you win Gen Con, you're not going to, they're not helping you out. So
No, even some of us that come from other countries.
yes, I know. Well, you're kind of attached. You're kind of America North. So so basically in a region we have a number of tournaments. Anywhere from 8 to 12 to 16, and the format is the top 3 of each of those smaller tournaments qualifies for the finals. Then we're going to have a finals weekend. Like here in the Midwest, it's going to be like a 2-day event. We're going to have a last chance qualifier on a Saturday, part of the Chilo, city grudge match. And then the Sunday is, all those people who qualified get together, and we're going to have another tournament, and the winner walks away with, travel money to Worlds and maybe even second place, depending on how many feeder tournaments we have. So, yeah, eventually the goal would be like I've seen in War Machine and Hordes and these other ones, where eventually we have an invitational weekend, which I'd love, right? So you have the winners of these circuits eventually all come together, and for that's the true champion. And I know in those games the people love it, and the prizes aren't there. They're not even offering what we're offering. People just do it for the bragging rights. They just do it for the love of the game. And
Yeah, and those sometimes are where you see some crazy games being played.
right,
When people are coming out for the love of the game, because they know that if I put together this, homebrewed janky deck, I can play and I can be a somebody in this league, right? And if I lose, oh well, I'm gonna get some high fives and stuff like that. Like you take some homebrew stuff to Worlds and you don't make the cut and nobody talks to you, right? Like, oh, you
Right.
didn't make the cut yet, see you at home. I'll take the late bus.
yeah,
Right,
basically.
right, but
You're right, though. This is more of a focus, because we want to be like fan focused, right? Player focused. And I just saw like we had our first tournament. Kyle Gordon, who helped run it, he took second. His handle, it just got real. Real like
Yeah.
he's running Ed Kim in Blue Sun, Scorch, Rush. That's the thing. Imagine you can take that kind of jank and do well. I mean, you're gonna get some exposure, I think. And that's the idea. We want to focus on the fans, focus on the players, right? And like you said, if you bring some jank stuff here and do well with it, you're going to be highlighted. So
yeah, exactly, right? So I encourage everybody to go out and to support. If there's one of these circuits running in your area, get out to it, make it a big deal, make it a priority. Things like this where people are going above and beyond to build a community, this only helps the game in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. This is people putting something on their back, running with it, trying to make something happen here, and don't fluff it off, because we need good number turnouts at these things to show these people that what they're doing matters. Yeah. You guys set up, do you got the website kicking live?
Yep. ANRProCircuit.com. I know the Great Lakes Circuit, we also have a Facebook page, but yeah, ANRProCircuit.com is the site. And, streaming is part of this too. We really want to push live streaming with commentary. We did that. I know Dodge Pong in Atlanta, they did a great job apparently. The guy who was the #1 overall seed, he set up the streaming in Wausau, and it worked really well. You had guys live commentating, and as opposed to after the fact, I think people really get off on that. And he's going to bring it down to us in Milwaukee, and we're going to do it for our qualifier here too. So, and I'm running it, so I'll be on the commentary there. So it should be entertaining. And not only that,
so you're saying that too, that just to interject, is that people that are coming to your area to play, they're relieved of the burden of having to go through you.
Right, exactly. I decided that I'm not going to win the one I'm running. That seems like poor form. So I decided I'm going to step back, let the peasants fight it off amongst themselves, and then,
amuse me, my people.
Exactly. That's how I'll be on the stream, laughing at them. But I think the streams, also someone was telling me, an old card friend of mine, that they're just good for a teaching tool too. They're not just, they're entertaining, but he was teaching a new guy, and the guy's just like, how come I keep losing his corp? I'm icing all my servers 3 or 4 deep. And he said, go watch some of these top streams of your deck, and see where the windows arise. It's not just about building ice towers. And the guy learned a lot. And so I think the streams have a lot of usage, and we're trying to push that too. But
I love so many aspects of the entire circuit program plan that's been worked on. It really does, in my opinion, when it was first brought up to me from the Atlanta meta, when they actually explained to me they were trying to do this and they wanted store participation, I was really impressed. At first, I was just impressed that someone was doing their own tournament outside of FFG, and then I thought about what this actually means for so many different kinds of players. And that's when it was the most attractive. Because, for me, I care most about, the competitive aspect and the competitive community. But not everybody wants to do that. This gives an opportunity, to basically make the tournament available to everybody. And for people especially that want to actually compare their skill. If you want to compare how good you are, you get to play against some very, very well-skilled opponents. Bring out the, like you said, bring out the deck that, that a lot of people don't expect. Smash the meta. And, challenge yourself, challenge everyone else to face you with the decks you've brought. And that streaming lends itself well to newer players and even existing players that are really, really talented that just enjoy that content. They want to see Spags, and they want to see Eric Jens, and they want to see Dan, and they want to see Zach Cavis. They want to see those great players, under the microscope and watching their play. That's one of the best ways you improve as a player, is to watch even better players play the game. That's part of it. Identifying where you're making your mistakes and where they're capitalizing on opportunities during the game. That's so important. And I just love that the entire circuit is giving the community that opportunity. It is so cool to me. So cool.
Did you guys have pretty much the whole North America circuited out now?
No, this is kind of we're in the infancy. This moved quick. It kind of moved quick on it. We've only been doing this for a couple months, getting it together, not even 2 months here. So we have the Midwest, we have the Southeast, we have the Mid-Atlantic, we have California, Nevada, Arizona, and then the Cascadian one that Joe held is going to be starting up. That's going to cover Oregon, Northern California, Washington, and Vancouver. So we got a fair amount covered. I still would like to see Texas, Colorado, Oklahoma cover that area. I'd like to see
on
New
that,
England, Toronto. Come on, man, pick it up. You counting on you guys.
Where can somebody reach you? Like, if there's someone in Texas watching right now and they're like, "Oh my God, I have a store. We can put this on. We can join in."
Well,
is it too late for this year or?
No, it's not. It's never too late. And what we're kind of doing is letting each region kind of do their own thing, set their own rules if they want. I mean, the goal was to send someone to Worlds. So, I mean, that's it. The idea was try to get it done by then. But even if you don't, you can start your own region. You know, if you just want like your own kind of like regional competitive meta, or even just this year to get the ball rolling, you can start your own up. If you're just a single store, that's not going to fly. You're going to have to. Someone's going to have to start up in the area, you know, and coordinate. But they can reach out to us through the website. Otherwise, anrprocircuit@gmail.com. That works too. But yeah, if you get enough interest in an area, like if you're in Texas or you have a bunch of people and you're like, we think we have enough stores to do it, we can help you out. We're here to provide prize support. We're here to provide, you know, assistance. You know, whatever they need. You know.
So, speaking of prize supports, then Scott, is what kind of playmats will I be winning on this circuit?
No playmats.
No playmats? This is how can you run an A&R tournament with no playmats?
We're actually thinking of maybe here's the problem I have with playmats. Too many. It's just the prizes in general. You don't have exclusivity, right? That's what part of the thing people like about prizes for a game where the cards have no value is exclusivity, right? So maybe if you give playmats to just the top 2 or top 4 of the whole circuit, like they kind of did with that StimHack Championship League, right? I mean, then there's some exclusivity. That's a cool playmat. But no, we're not doing that. We're offering other types of prizes. But actually, though, Inked Playmats is one of our sponsors here in the Midwest. So
yeah, but you guys have done work before. I think you've used them a lot.
Yes, I personally have made at least 3 or 4 playmats to them. I like them a lot. So yeah, I'm glad that they're on board.
We might see a slot the clot playmat.
No.
It might be a thing. I think it might. You might need to make that a thing.
I think I might. You're right. I think I'm going to have to make that up. That's a fantastic idea. But what? Just the clot art you're going to put on there?
No, that's not that good. But it would be interesting if you somehow. So if you could get the near Earth hub image and it has like a marquee, and in the marquee put slot the clot.
Yeah.
That'd be. I don't know how you would go about doing that.
I'm sure someone will see this and.
Like immediately Photoshop it. They're like, yeah, I got it. I can do this.
Yeah. We get some. I tell you, Bad Publicity listeners are pretty good with throwing out some fan arts and stuff like that. So.
Well, you know, I've got the cream of the crop. You know, Jesus dropping that, or getting the album dropped on it. But what about something like that? What about maybe like Macho Man or someone else using the clot, like holding the piece of art, like the actual clot, and like a steel chair and hitting the near Earth hub with it?
Like a hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. There you go.
That's good. I like that.
Let's be creative.
Gosh, that would be so amazing.
Yeah, so I think I encourage everyone to check that out. Make sure Facebook, websites, talk about it.
Yeah, we'd love for it to expand, but like I said, this is just the first year. We just want to get it out there, show that there's interest in it, and then next year we really want to kick it in. So,
and it really perturbs me, if that's such a word.
It is a word.
When I hear you say at the beginning that there is some negative backsplash.
Why?
Because everything is fan driven. Like we're not putting corporate funds to work here. We're putting people's time.
Yeah.
right? And when somebody wants to get together with some other like-minded people and say, this is what I'm going to do for the community, let's do this, let's get together, let's grow this game, you can't have people that are going to sit at home and just hear that and drop the negativity that they're doing when certain people are trying to carry it solely. I don't think that's cool at all. I don't think, because those people, what are they doing?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of fear maybe out there, right? Some people are just too cynical or negative, so they're going to just tear anything down. But the main concern I think was, there's money involved, or I don't want to go to Worlds, or this is just money. This is going to turn into Magic, right? Or Hearthstone. It's like, yeah, well, you wish it did. I mean, it'll never be that level of popularity. But I mean, this is not quit your job money. This is not even go out to lunch money, really. I mean, this is like, we're just trying to have someone be able to like recoup their costs of going to Worlds. I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't
just ignore me while I try and recall this message here, this email to boss.
There you go. But that's the fear out there that, this is going to start, this money's going to bring in bad players. No, it's not. It's not enough money. Those people are already playing Hearthstone and Magic, right? You're not going to lure them in. And it's like, people are already super competitive, right? I don't think this is going to change it. I went to a store championship where people should be goofing off, and they're playing like Worlds decks, and I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing, I guess, right? And I played different decks in every store champ, because I'm like, this is the time you're just supposed to goof off, right? But
and you know what, like I was saying before, I think this is the perfect time and the perfect place to bring something fun and to play. Just play for fun and come and play your heart out with the biggest jankiest deck you can, and have fun with it, because this is your opportunity to get known. These are pockets around the North America that this is your time to shine. Be somebody. Like, we have maybe a handful of names in this community that people know because those people are out there doing something and they're winning tournaments. I'd like to shine the spotlight on people that maybe you're not the best at executing a deck or coming down against a tier 1 deck, but if you're the creative flow behind the world's best Stronger Together deck, I want to know that guy, and I think this is giving another tournament setting where those kind of decks can shine a bit. I don't know. Maybe we're just rambling on here about how cool I think it is, but
no, it is cool. It is most definitely cool. Everyone should go. Do you live 300 miles away? You should go.
No doubt. I see in the chat that you've prepped a reel. You got your real talk moment of the night.
Well, I withheld it. Withheld it.
You have a keeping it 100 moment here, or what?
I've got this button in a minute. It's the more you know. It's gonna show up over his head. Hold on.
By the way, I notice Hollis, every time I see it here, his bed is unmade. There's always cards in the background. Oh boy. Did you just Go ahead.
Go ahead. Every time you see me, what?
No, it's every time I watch this program, your bed is unmade. I mean, I know you're just a young dude. I always just assume you just got done taking care of some business. Real talk.
See, his place is like this, and I can guarantee that you see that closet right there? Every time in a video you see it open, I get yelled at and beaten after it.
Bro.
Physically. All right.
I can't believe you left the closet door open. How messy it is in there.
It's such a danger zone.
All right, it's time to get serious for a second.
Hashtag.
Larry King.
So I just want the hat on long enough so people see it, and now I'll just take off because it's fucking goofy. So
can you get a hashtag hatspags for your
hashtag slot the clock?
Slot the clock. So there has been a lot of like, and I hate to bring this up here like in a video, but there's been a lot of like netrunner drama, which is really interesting to me because like coming from I played Pokemon and Magic, And so, like, the drama there with the competitive groups in that game is, like, far different. There's even drama in the Magic community now, more recently, I think, also. But that's not really related here. So I've heard two primary issues in Netrunner right now. The first one being that apparently in a tournament in a different country, there was something about the intentional draw thing happened. And of course, in the existing Netrunner rulebook, that is unsportsmanlike conduct, and you can't do that, and that's not fair. You're not allowed to do that.
Do what?
But
What are you talking about here?
intentionally draw. So let's say that you and I are facing each other. We are not allowed.
Okay, sorry. Yes, I
Yeah.
know. Like,
Oh, my bad.
I get it now. I'm thinking draw as in like draw a card.
Right.
You mean draw as in a match, right? Tie.
Right,
We're going
exactly.
to like.
Right.
I see you before the game, and I tell you, "Hey, man, I have this many points. You have this many points.
Bro, I got you.
If we tie, we're both in. Okay, that kind of draw,
Right.
right?
And then there was the issue where there were some games where basically people talked about how, let's say for example, I made 3 runs last turn, my Desperado's in play. So we switch back now, it's your turn. I go, yo, wait, hey Spags, bro, sorry. Forgot to gain those 3. Just gonna correct that. Right?
Nope.
And then there's the newest issue where I've heard basically where MTG Red, who is if I'm not mistaken, sorry to call you out, that was Min,
Yes.
who got second place at Worlds, who has used his this one buy that he's had now twice. And then granted, there's probably some other circumstances involved because I don't have the full story. I don't want to attack anybody, but the fact is that it was somehow used twice. I have opinions on all these things, but really I'm targeting it towards one, and that's really towards FFG. This is the real talk is FFG. So the reason why these things happen, and the reason why we're in this really odd spot right now where there's this Netrunner drama is because as it stands, we do not have a judge system, and you have failed to be able to provide us with legitimate competitive floor rules for when these instances occur. In Magic, for example, if I was given a buy and I attempted to use it twice and I was allowed to use it twice, there would be some sort of ban or suspension instituted. In Magic, they would have floor rules for instances where I forgot automatic triggers, which you tell me that I by rules can't miss, but per honor of player, like Spags, gave an example of, I think it's perfectly within his reason to deny me, not getting the credits that I missed on my personal trigger. Per you, however, FFG, I have to take them. And then, and then of course, moving that on, in cases where players would break a rule, even if not intentionally, where they do something like an intentional draw, there's just no legit factual way to police this. Not only because we don't have judges, but I'm going to take a step here as an aside, give a perfectly good example of this, as I've described already with a friend of mine. Spags and I make it. No, let's do Spags as I think your best friend's Aaron, right? So Spags and Aaron make it to top 8, and they're seed 1 and 2. They're in this. It's 6 rounds of Swiss, and pretty much right now they're in round 5. This is the round 5 for them. Unless one of them double loses twice, there is no opportunity or no chance in hell that they're not going to make the top 8. The cut is top 8. Now, the current rules state that they cannot intentionally draw, and thus, even if they went to the next match and double lost, they would absolutely make it regardless. The rules state that they would not make top 8. They could not intentionally draw. This does not make sense because every competitive card game, since the existence of every competitive game, for the most part, has allowed drawing. Chess allows this. Chess, which is high strategy, high skill, no luck game, allows this. So not only does this rule, again, this is personal opinion. I know not everyone's going to agree. Not only does this rule not make sense, but in general, this is against the grain of pretty much every competitive card game that's out there. Now, the competitive players are going to play competitively, which means that opportunities to give them a chance to win, they will take. Gamers gonna game is pretty much the translation here. And when you punish the gamers for gaming, you're sending this really weird mixed message because there's nothing stopping Spags and Aaron from meeting outside the game and say, hey, when we're at this match, just run 2x versus Cortex Lock with no MU. You played the game and you basically auto lost to me, but I mean, we played the game and that's all that matters. Even if you looked at this and this was suspicious, there's no way you could ever truly prove that Aaron or Spags fell on the sword for the sake of making sure they split. The mere fact that you could even come up with an opinion that this was collusion is ridiculous because you would have no basis because you didn't hear a conversation that this even occurred. So you just can't police it. The rule is dumb. All that aside, coming back to the original argument, without legitimate floor rules and without a legitimate way to police this, without a judge program, you are actually hurting not only the competitive community for people that are in the higher tier, but you're hurting the competitive community for people that actually want to be a part of that competitive crowd. Because you have no real way to answer things that will happen in game as the board state changes, like missing triggers or things like that. This is also expected to be handled by players, and the truth is, like what I'm willing to allow to be legal is vastly different from what my opponent would think should be allowed to be legal. Point in fact, last year at Worlds, at the Winter Tournament, I forgot to gain a credit from Desperado. My opponent, and it was 1 credit. My opponent, I asked, I didn't just take it, I asked, hey, I forgot this trigger. Is it fine with you if I take the credit? My opponent said, no, sorry, just make sure you don't forget it next time. And he wasn't, to me that was a rude way of saying it, whatever, it was straightforward, I don't care. Reverse it, my opponent on his turn, went install, and then looked at me directly in the windows to my soul and asked me if he could take this action back. If you are watching this, yes, I did remember that this occurred, and if you recall, I let you take it back because I'm not an ass, and I understand that this was just a winter tournament. This wasn't Worlds or Regional or Nationals. The point I'm trying to make is that there's no rules, though, overall for how this is handled, and it's entirely handled by players, and this is unreliable because if I give you an inch and you don't give me an inch, well, now I have this negative play experience involving this person I'm playing against because there's no standard, and that is a problem. And I think that FFG, if anyone that works for FFG or is in communication ever looks at any of the content that people produce, I hope what you take from the most recent drama and from what I'm saying right now is that we would love some semblance of like this organized play experience on the competitive level. It doesn't have to be 300 pages of a compendium like Magic has. Maybe, that's not necessary, but give us a way to fix it. Make it so that Spags and I are on the same level playing field when we sit down at that table. I know that Spags isn't going to let me take a credit back, and Spags doesn't know that I am going to let him take his back, or whatever the case is. Like, just make it even for all players. And I think you can do that without ruining the play experience. And if players don't like things like intentional draws and things like that, we still have these qualifiers like we have the Pro Circuit where custom rules are available. I don't see what's stopping us from right now doing a Pro Circuit and then saying, hey, intentional draws are allowed for Pro Circuit events, so ID it up. I guess that means that the person who's now C12, when they double win, rip, they're in now. These advantages are there for allowing things like this to happen, and we just want the organization. And my rant is over. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for giving me my soapbox.
Yeah. To touch on some of those rules, the one rule that I would like to see tightened just a little bit, and this is just coming from my play style because I used to be the guy that really loves showing up at like a big tournament with some kind of creative twist deck.
Yeah,
I would like scouting turned down a bit, or to TOs to watch that a little closer. I find there's during matches there's a little too many people hovering throughout the tournament, looking, watching. I know it's really hard to call, and I always err on the side of being a nice guy, so I will always let you take something back. I'm not going to look over my shoulder and be like, hey, why, you're still in this tournament, man. I might face you next round. Can you not watch my game here? Because like I said, I come with something that's usually against the grain or that I'm playing for fun. But I know that's hard because, the first time that somebody sees that, like they're like, oh my God, this guy's,
right,
he's running Scorched Earth in this weird non-Scorched Earth build. You're going to go and tell all your buddies after that at lunch break, like, oh, first game, I, ran into this guy, he Scorched Earthed me out of nowhere. So I know it's really kind of hard, but especially as it gets to those limbs and things, and there's people just hanging around the tables. I'd like to see the TOs do a better job of clearing that area out. But then again, that's the floor rules, right? So.
Yeah.
But scouting is illegal right now, isn't it? I think in their rules it is illegal in their tournament rules, and you could call a judge and say, "Can you just get this guy away from my table?" But you're right. Like they say in the chat, how do you really enforce it? Someone they can back up a couple extra feet, keep an eye out, or like you said, or their friend they lost, they go to their group of friends. Hey man, you see that clown in the hat over there? Scorched earth. Don't watch out.
Watch it. Plascrete first turn.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I think scouting is really, really hard to stop. But
you'd have to get them out of the room completely, and you'd need a big enough venue, and a lot of places can't do it. Right?
Yeah.
They just can't handle it. And
I know a lot of these times, as this game gets bigger, it is big numbers that are coming out. Like sometimes you can have 60 people at a tournament. And usually these tournaments are being run by one guy. So one guy sitting at a desk taking stuff, and he can't be walking the floor and doing all the other stuff that he needs to do at the same time. So I'm not saying that the judges are doing bad jobs. I'm just saying that scouting is I wish that's where we could, as a community, do a little better.
There's just not enough eyes. Like for like with things like deck scouting and things like the intentional draw thing that may happen. Like there's not enough eyes to determine like whether or not those rules are being completely followed. Unless you're at a premier event like Worlds where you have like a judge per table, and even then, I don't even think Worlds had a judge per table.
They have like 3 judges. Period.
Yeah. There's a good line in the chat here, and it just says even when people are playing next to you. Like, how many times have you been playing a game and then somebody leans over after a move and they're like, "Oh, you can't do that." Yeah, right? And I'm like, what game are you playing? So, are you watching my game, playing your game?
Did you watch the Nationals video with Zach Cavis versus Benoit Gaskin? I like how when I talk about Netrunner videos, it's like I'm talking about fucking sports.
Esports.
It is. Yeah, right. Man. But like Benoit versus Zach Cavis, like I'm with Spags. Most of the time, if it's in casual play, I'll just I'll tell you like, "Yo, bro, like you forgot Despo. Like go ahead and take that." And then if it happens a couple times even, I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead and take it." When we're at a premier tournament, I'm usually like, "All right, don't you get a credit there?" Okay. And then after that, I'm like, "All right, he forgot it. We're done. I'm not gonna keep doing this. Yeah. I can't. I'm so focused on my game. I'm like, I can't play your game too. I'm sorry. I can't.
So is there something in that video you were saying?
Well, Lucas, who incredibly nice guy, but he would remind the players after every single forgotten trigger. He would not let a Desperado credit go. He would not let a Data Sucker credit, counter go. And it's one of those circumstances where it's like, okay, it's good to have that because the way you've explained the game is that this is an element that is mandatory, but where was this for the rest of the game? And how many game states got changed because this active level of policing wasn't there? Furthermore, is this necessary? Like, do you think that you should be at the final table telling the players that are in the finals to remember credits? I mean, it's nice, but these guys are these guys are good. And they may be exhausted, they may be tired, but I'm of the opinion that the fatigue involved with being, playing a 7 rounds and then going to top 8 in Swiss after in the finals is a part of being good. Is obtaining that level of stamina to handle
there. Yeah,
that's so important.
We had it in Legend of the Five Rings. They call it active judging because you don't have enough judges to do that normally. But at the top tables, the judges would watch because they want like a clean game, and they would remind of misses and stuff. I'm with you with the fatigue. I do find it kind of ironic that you have this going on, like active judging. Like you missed the Desperado, you missed the Astrolabe draw, and I remind my opponents of that too. I was doing it all last Saturday. But on the other hand, this is a game of fatigue and memorization. You can't take notes. You hit that psychic field out of 1 out of 30 remotes. You're supposed to remember where that was. You can't mark it with a counter. You know what I'm saying? That's in the rules. But on the other hand, they have this active judging. So you're right. I mean, that is kind of bizarre. And that's where they need floor rules. You got to like hammer this out. Is there active judging at the top end of a premier event or not? Right. I mean, we don't know.
And my fear is, even with the judge program, again, this is a weird sort of place to be, but I kind of feel like to me, I felt like, you have the judge program. I think the people that are going to be the best at the judge program are excellent players. That felt like, to me, you just took people out of my competitive group. That's what it feels like. And don't get me wrong, that's cool. I mean, I know personally, I think we need them. We need the judges. But I would rather have, I don't want Spags to be a judge, bro. Spags needs to be playing. Like, I want to see Spags play. I want to see Zach Cavis play. I want to see Dan DiArgenio, sorry for mispronouncing your name, I want to see him play. And so, when you take some of the best players and you kind of go, well, these guys are the guys that, are skilled enough to not have that kind of fatigue, so they remember these triggers, we need them to be judges. It's like, all right, so who are the players I'm supposed to be watching? Because you just took the best players away. These aren't the best. You gave me the best of what's left. That's not the same thing.
Right. We also had this. Yeah. We had this in Legend of the Five Rings too, and I'm going to do this in the pro circuit, like, so people can play. Like, what if all the people involved in the pro circuit make the finals, right? I want them to play. So what they had as a 3-judge rule. I kind of like that, until you get to, like, the highest end where it's like, we're all competent enough. There aren't a lot of questions. So to make sure there isn't a collusion, it's like you can have 3 different people that are judges, but they can also play, right? And what are the odds so that if 2 of the judges are playing, we have a third one who can answer their questions if they have them, right? And that way the judges can play. And unless you got to like a 200 or 300 person tournament, it wouldn't really matter, right? And I kind of like that system that you have these player judges essentially.
Yeah. I like that. I do.
Yeah, I
Floor
think
rules.
so too.
Yes.
And I think there is a movement now on StimHack to get some player based ones. I think since they are player run, player written, it's going to be hard to enforce that because, unless FFG puts a stamp of approval, because I want to be able to go to a tournament and have the same consistency at the high levels as you would. A store championship should be judged the same way that the Worlds is judged. But if there's certain floor rules at this tournament, but they're not going to be judged at the highest level because once you get to FFG headquarters, things are going to change. You're not going to be able to call those same rules out. It might be a little different. Or it might be good for, all those people that you talked about, Spags and Dan and, Zach to move out the way and give me my time for once.
If I could just have all of you to leave the meta
just step
and
over
just
here for a quick second,
We'll start that for you next, the A&R amateur circuit.
Pro-am, man. Did you guys ever let a pro-am on?
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I mean, these floor rules, well, I'll tell you what, if the A&R pro circuit probably will take something like these StimHack fan rules and make them the standard. Because, like if Fantasy Flight's not going to do it, we got to have something. And I'm welcome. Let the players develop it. And who knows better? The players are out there in the trenches, right? They know what they'd want. Like Min screwed up. What should that be? Should he be banned from nationals? Should he be banned from worlds for this? Was it intentional? I mean, the players, they should have a say in that.
Yeah, and I think it's all going to become building a community, right? And
that's part of it for sure.
I guarantee you, when you start getting a warning because you forgot to trigger your Desperado, I bet you fucking stop forgetting.
It's like a 5-yard
like
encroachment penalty.
When someone's like, you're like, I forgot Desperado. Judge, that's a warning. If it happens again, this is going to result in a game loss. I guarantee you will not forget Desperado again. You remember it every freaking time. Every time. Okay, it doesn't have to be that extreme.
That's
but the
pretty
point
harsh,
is,
man. That's pretty harsh.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh. But I'm just saying, like, if it's a rule, if it's a legit rule instead of a player agreement thing, you will start paying way more attention to those things.
For example, I'm playing Sword Championship against Nordrunner. He's nervous naturally. He's playing against me. He spills the top. I make a run on R&D. I go to access. He bumps and spills half of R&D on the ground. Now what? What there's got to be a floor rule for this. What is this? Does he just shuffle it up? Does he just shuffle the top half? Does he shuffle the whole deck? What's going on? Right? Stuff like that. I mean, we need.
If I was judging, that would be a penalty, and that would be 3 cards minimum replaced from his deck with my cards.
It's like a free indexing. I get to look at the top.
Oh my gosh.
I replace them with some wonky. They're all hard at work. Every time you make a mistake as a runner, one card comes out and a hard at work gets slotted in.
Nice, very nice.
That's the only way to keep it fair, folks. Anything else you guys want to recap here or say? Spags, you did a good job there bringing in the pro circuit. I think, people will check out the website, get all the information. They're going to play it now because we told them to. Hollis, you're all good?
I've said everything I really wanted to say. The Kermit meme is active now.
Hey, I didn't hear. How was your regional, Hollis? How'd you do?
I got seventh. I got swept real fast in the. It was like some of the best meta option like decks I went against. It was like NEH Grail, I'm Andy, and I'm like, that sucks.
Yep.
And then round 2, I'm RP. He's stealth. Kate. So I'm like, are you like what? Like the best, like probably the best meta options, like 1 and 2. All right, oh well. So, but it was fun. It was actually the best I'd ever done. I'm always the guy on the bubble. I'm always 11th or 12th, and it's always like I'm in the last round, and I'm in the last round, and I'm going, as long as I don't lose twice, I'm in, and I always lose twice, which if I look into the camera and say, this is why it would matter if people were able to intentionally draw when they're undefeated. No, I'm kidding. But
I
like
feel you, man.
Yeah, I mean, but it was actually
give
awesome.
that man a microphone to drop.
Drop the headset.
Yeah, no, it was really really good. Congrats also on your regionals win. That was phenomenal. Your decks look awesome. Really great job.
Thank you.
Perfect.
It was tough.
It
really wasn't that hard.
Just when I think you're dropping some honesty.
I was honest. It wasn't that tough.
Well, for somebody that was prepared.
And by the way, guess what? So now I've got that national buy. You know where that's being used? T-Dot. I'm bringing it up there.
What?
Canadian Nationals, man. Someone's got to knock. Like I said, someone's got to knock L out of there. The Canadians
Oh my
obviously
God.
aren't doing it. So Robot Joe and I are coming up to defend Canada.
Oh my! You know what you should do? You
Is that
should
for
use it
real,
in
though?
Canada and the U.S.
Hey, if you need a place to crash, man, let me know.
Will do. But yeah, that's for real, probably. So
That's going to be awesome. Hollis, you?
he's doing Gen Con, right?
I don't even. I'm going to Gen Con, but what is the date of the Canadian National?
No one knows yet.
No one knows.
This fantasy flight, they'll announce it a month beforehand.
Oh,
So you
If
can't
If I
plan.
know the date, I can do it.
let me tell you that now I know that you guys are planning to come up. We're not announcing it at all. I'm just you're just going to be watching a Bad Publicity one day, and I'm going to be like, "Oh yeah, Canadian Nationals last week was crazy," and you're just going to look down at your buy and weep a tear.
God.
An unused buy, nothing sadder.
Good luck.
So what is that for? You got are you skipping Gen Con?
Yep, I am.
This is the first time in a long time then.
I've been taking some breaks. It's just, I don't know. It's getting too crowded, too overcosted. The hotel fiasco this year. So
It was a freaking lottery. Like what?
that was a nightmare. So I haven't been to Canada in a while. So it'll be fun.
This is going to be crazy, and I'm looking forward to it.
And to be honest, probably an easier field. I mean, no, legitimately, because Gen Con was tougher than Worlds last year. There were 2 128-person flights. The top 16 of those advanced, right? Or top 32. And then they had another 5-round Swiss tournament, and then they took the top 8. I mean, that was insane.
Yeah, and then you know what happens then is that you end up going to a convention just to play Netrunner.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, not me. I did it in 1 flight, but some people did. They played 2 flights, and then they played on Saturday. Nightmare.
Sweet. Well, I'm looking forward to you guys coming up if that's true then. Get to see my buddy in real time here.
Yeah, for sure.
Guys, I got nothing else. This week I'm tapped out.
Oh, that's it. Only what, 2.5 hours?
So much
I
stuff.
did it all with no drink.
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this Hollis rant, though, man. That was impressive. I think you did that on one breath, no sips of water.
Passionate, man. I'm passionate about that kind of stuff, man. Like
That's how he does. He's gonna need somebody sitting off camera now, hydrating him for the next times.
I mean, it's just whenever it's things that the community has clearly expressed that we really want, and we don't have an answer. That's when I have a problem with it.
Yep.
Because FFG can't tell me they don't have the resources. They have the resources, and if they don't have anything written yet, they can absolutely steal it and change it from another game somewhere. They can't tell me they can't do that. So I mean, this should have been there. This should have been there since Worlds last year. So
And they've been talking about it since. And you think they have like 6-8 games, right? They would want to plaster across all of them, wouldn't you think? I mean,
you could have it so you could seriously make a certain amount of those rules be universal for all living card games, and then have specific details per card game. But we have nothing. We have zero.
It's
They're
coming.
literally it's coming. It's on its way.
Hey, I think Zach, are you coming up for Canadian Nationals too? I see you're asking about the dates here. If Zach comes up, then I think Hollis has to come for sure.
There's so many people going.
they won't let him out of the country, I don't think. Zach, he's too dangerous.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna have to tip off the border people, confiscate all Netrunner cards coming in.
Is that right? I did come up. I remember I used to come up to card tournaments and in Toronto, crossing the border, and one time I had the 5-count boxes stacked up in the back. The Canadian border guard just looking like, "So where are you going?" And I'm like, "Toronto." What for? Got to visit some friends. What are you doing up there? We're playing cards. What's with all that at the back? And I have it lifted up. I'm like, these are all cards. He's like, you didn't want to think about it. Just go. Just you're obviously harmless.
Yeah. I get the same thing crossing down when I go over to visit my friends either in New York or Detroit, and you get to the border and you got your binder and your your box, and the guards are always like, "Where are you going?" "Just going to see some friends."
Yeah.
"What are you doing with them?" "Okay, I'm playing in a card tournament." "A what?"
Yeah,
It's
right.
making bombs and doing drugs. Give me my fucking cards back.
Is there prizes? Yes. Cash?
Oh god.
No.
Yeah, you know.
Go ahead.
Yes.
So
You're
what do
playing
you get? What are you driving 5 hours for? Well, they're gonna give me a alternate ID card.
Oh my god. I'm saving that for a rant for next week.
Yes.
The price support. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I've got a theory about this, but yeah, you should explain. I'm getting a playmat. What is that? It's like a giant mouse pad, essentially. No, real quick. My thought on the prize support, why it's continually getting worse. I think Fantasy Flight wants to keep the game casual, right? And I think they intentionally want to give prizes away that aren't worth anything. Which, why would they care what they sell for? If people want to recoup their costs, think about it. Pro con. And now IDs, right? Why should I go to multiple store champs? Why do I need 5 Chaos Theories? At least last year it was Katie Jones, Corporate Troubleshooter.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't be IDs. I mean, anyhow, real quick, I think it might be intentional.
It's cool. I mean, it's only $25 interregional, and you only get 50 people entering, so it's only like a lot of money compared to the prize support given.
Conspiracy theories.
That's why it's up to the TOs. I think they have to provide better stuff. I see this Michigan one today. They're giving away prepaid cash cards. That New Orleans one, iPad mini. See, now that's legit. What did I win for winning first place? I got that clear trophy.
And Gagarin.
Yes, well, as did the 3 other people below me. The playmat, the 7 other guys below me. Yeah. Anyhow, hey, why'd you guys have Zach on here? You should invite him on sometime.
It's Hollis's job is to line up the guests.
Blame him, huh?
Yo, Zach, if you're still here and you're listening, bro, your time has come. Your time is here.
I don't know how verbose he is, but you can get something out of him. I mean, the dude's one of the best players in the world. So,
Yep.
all right, man.
Yeah, he's saying if Canadian Nationals overlaps with Gen Con, he's committed to Gen Con.
Well, that's what happened last year, right? They were the same weekend.
Yeah.
Great timing, Fantasy Flight. World's largest game convention. Oh, yeah, we forgot about that.
I think the Nationals was player. The Canadian Nationals was player driven.
Right. Yeah.
I think they approached Fantasy Flight to run a Canadian Nationals.
That makes sense. But who picks the date? Do you think they did?
I think they did.
Well, I know why. Cowardice, because you wanted to avoid the real hitters. Well, guess what? They're coming up.
Wait, didn't somebody from Canada win the U.S. one though?
Yeah,
Yes.
in the U.S. won Canada.
Right.
This is so fucked. Like, why?
It was awesome.
It's how things roll in Netrunner, man.
Oh my god.
Sometimes you bet 0. Sometimes you bet 1.
No, you bet 2. You need to bet. You need to bet 2. Not enough people bet 2. Bet 2.
That did happen to me in the Elims last week, by the way. I bet 2 like 3 times in a row. And the guy openly said, how many times are you going to bet 2? And I go, I learned it from Min. You just bet 2 every time. And we bid again, and I bid 1, and he bid 2. And I'm
Oh
like,
my god.
yeah, you just talked about it, dude. Why? What? You think I'm going to bid 2 again? The guy he wasn't good at side games.
Well, sometimes you roll a dice and bet what the dice tells you to roll or
That's
bet.
a great plan.
My friends, thank you very much for your time. Thanks everybody in the chat. If you don't subscribe, you probably should, so you get notified when these hangouts just fall together like this. We'll catch you next week, I believe, and I don't have a good outing. Keep on running.
Thanks, Bags, for joining us. Thank you so much, Bags.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. And don't forget, slot that clot.
Slot. Yeah, there it is. There's the outro.
Slot the clot.
Take it, AJ.
Have a good night.
Peace.